Chapter 2255. Low Morale. However, if they didn't deploy a monarch star, how could they suppress Hunyo? A humanoid being stepped forward. Even though his skin was crimson red, it was decorated with thin golden trails that radiated with an air of might and dominance. X-2, he said as he pointed at himself. He glared at Hunyo, and he didn't conceal his surging killing intent at all. Girl, come back, a mighty figure from the celestial realm said to Hunyo. X-2 was a monarch star, so she couldn't face him head-on. Otherwise, her fate would be certain death. Hunyo had initially been unwilling, but upon hearing Ling Han secretly telling her to retreat, she pouted her lips and retreated to the side. Afterward, this would be a stage for monarch stars, one in which even monarch tiers didn't have the right to enter. Of course, this was unless they possessed a significant advantage in terms of cultivation level. The Rain Emperor was the first to step forward. The two monarch stars immediately unleashed their full strength to clash with each other. One of them was at the 6th secret, while the other was at the 6th layer of the 8th lotus. Their cultivation level was identical, yet the Rain Emperor was the one with the superior battle prowess. The Rain Emperor was a genuine cultivation prodigy, and his battle talent and ability were inconceivably freakish. Add to that the celestial Dao physique that he had obtained, and his battle prowess was naturally even higher. It wasn't long before he gained the upper hand, and completely suppressed Xin Tuesday. This elicited thunderous cheers from the celestial realm. Meanwhile, the cultivators from the foreign realm fell quiet. Were they going to lose 2 battles in a row? More importantly, both of these losses were against opponents at the same cultivation level. This was a huge blow to their morale. The foreign realm was higher in level than the celestial realm, so in a battle against someone at the same cultivation level, they should have possessed an advantage. Xin unleashed all of his abilities, yet facing the fist technique of the Rain Emperor, he had absolutely no chance to turn the tables. He was continually pummeled, and one of his arms was evenly violently torn off. However, his counterattacks could barely leave any marks on the Rain Emperor. This was because the Rain Emperor could transform into the flow of time. It was as if he existed in the past, yet it was also as if he existed in the future. As such, how could he be wounded? If the other party wanted to wound the Rain Emperor's celestial physique, he needed to possess a noticeable advantage in cultivation level. That's enough, an elite from the foreign realm said. However, the Rain Emperor completely ignored him. As long as his opponent still stood on the platform, he wouldn't relent a single bit. I told you to stop, the elite from the foreign realm said in rage, reaching over to grab at the Rain Emperor. Heh, this is a battle between youths, so why are you trying to interfere? A mighty figure from the celestial realm said as they reached over to block the elite from the foreign realm. Pang! The elite from the foreign realm was instantly sent flying. Just then, a celestial king from the celestial realm had called for an end to the first battle, yet an elite from the foreign realm had stepped forward to interfere. Now, the exact opposite was happening. At this moment, it was as if the cultivators from the celestial realm had ingested a top-notch celestial pill. They felt as euphoric as could be. The attacks of the Rain Emperor didn't stop, and half of Xin2's body was utterly mangled and destroyed. However, a monarch star was a monarch star, after all, and he ultimately managed to escape. They had won another battle. The cultivators from the celestial realm were beside themselves with delight. It had already been too long since they had witnessed such a satisfying victory. The foreign realm remained silent for a moment before sending forth a new competitor. Xin Luo. Not only was he a monarch star, but he was more so a supreme freak at the 10th layer of the 8th lotus. This was equivalent to a 10th secret elite. The Rain Emperor attacked, yet the gulf between the 6th secret and the 10th secret was far too great. He was sent flying with a single strike, and if it weren't for Ling Han's secret help, he would have definitely been killed in an instant. Proud expressions returned to the faces of the cultivators from the foreign realm. Perhaps the Rain Emperor was powerful, but they had even more powerful prodigies. Everything would be fine as long as they ultimately achieved victory. It was as if the celestial realm would definitely be defeated by the foreign realm. Xin Luo possessed a towering physique. He was a humanoid, and his skin was so red that it was almost black. There was a golden horn on his head, and he also had a tail that was astonishingly long, so much so that it was like a hand. His tail continued to coil and swish around. He wore an expression of pride and arrogance as he looked toward the celestial realm, saying, "Who's coming up to die?" Whoosh! A figure materialized. It was none other than Xueqi. "This humble monk will battle against you," Xueqi said in a seemingly amiable voice. However, when he attacked, it was as if he were a demonic deity. He possessed the demeanor of the Buddhist sect's 9 lights ancient Buddha. Moreover, he was indeed powerful, and his golden body mystical power had already been cultivated to a pinnacle level. His body transformed into a golden god of battle, and when he tapped his finger for the ages, he could seemingly exterminate celestials and slay gods. Ling Han was astonished by what he saw. Xueqi had actually reached the 9th secret. This was incredibly astonishing. Only 1,000 years or so had passed, yet he had actually soared from the 1st secret to the 9th secret. This progress was far too rapid. However, this was still completely useless. Sen Luo's cultivation level was equivalent to the 10th secret, which was an entire minor level above Xueqi. Moreover, who were they? They were monarch stars. They had reached the pinnacle level, a state of perfection, in each cultivation level. It was only because of this that they could enjoy the title of monarch star. That being the case, a gap of 1 minor level was naturally an insurmountable gulf. Xueqi unleashed all of his abilities, yet he could only wind up with a resounding defeat. He more so suffered a severe wound, with a bloody hole punched open in his lower abdomen. Hong Huang and Jia Lan stepped forward one after another, yet neither of them could escape the fate of defeat. There was nothing they could have done about this, either. After all, they were only at the 9th secret. The morale of the celestial realm fell to rock bottom. Only Xueqi had yet to battle, with the other prodigies completely unable to rival Sen Luo. Sure enough, the next person to step forward was Xueqi. This was the celestial realm's final hope. Xueqi was tall and slender, and she had raven-black hair that stretched down to her knees. She was wearing a white dress, and even though it had no decorations, she was still a beautiful sight to behold. She stood with her hands clasped behind her back, and her long hair gently flowed with the soft breeze. She was like an ethereal celestial maiden. However, Sen Luo didn't appreciate her beauty at all. They were from 2 starkly different realms, so he was naturally unable to appreciate Xueqi's charm. On the contrary, a look of cruel bloodlust appeared in his eyes, and he said, "Female being, you're quite extraordinary. There's a hint of source power in your blood, and if I can refine you, this will bring me great benefits." In the eyes of the beings from the foreign realm, the cultivators from the celestial realm weren't people at all. They were no different from livestock. Xueqi simply flicked her sleeve, and she appeared as elegant as could be. "Haha, you're mine!" Sen Luo roared as he unleashed an attack at Xueqi. As they exchanged attacks, the cultivators from the celestial realm finally breathed a sigh of relief. This was because Xueqi wasn't suppressed at all. However, in the next instant, they immediately furrowed their brows. In a battle between cultivators from the 2 realms, as long as the cultivator from the celestial realm didn't gain the upper hand, they would definitely end up losing. Why? Because of regulations. This was the neutral zone, where they couldn't replenish their power of regulations. Thus, whoever could lock more regulations in their body would ultimately end up being the victor. Sure enough, after battling for around 10 hours, Xueqi started to show signs of fatigue. This was inevitable. Regulations were the weapons of cultivators, and without them, they would be like toothless beasts. After exchanging several more strikes, Xueqi was forced to admit defeat. If she hadn't admitted defeat, she would have genuinely been captured and devoured by Sen Luo. What now? Even Xueqi had been defeated, and the celestial realm had suffered another resounding defeat. Thankfully, they had at least won 2 duels, and therefore won 20,000 years of peace for the celestial realm. Ha ha ha! The cultivators from the foreign realm all roared with laughter. They were brimming with prodigies, and just Sen Luo alone had been able to suppress the entire younger generation of the celestial realm. They still had Nai Yu and Wu Xin who hadn't participated yet. As for the strongest Qi Shui, he more so didn't need to participate. Meanwhile, the celestial realm was feeling stifled under a dreary atmosphere. No one was in the mood to speak. Was the gulf between the 2 sides truly so great? At this moment, a person suddenly walked out from among the celestial realm cultivators. "He's Wuming." "Ha! What use is trying to be brave and stepping forward? Even Xing Chenyue was defeated. Indeed. Even though Ji Wuming is also a monarch star, he's only at the same level as Shichanzi and Hong Huang. He's nowhere near the level of Xing Chenyue. Even if he battles, he'll only collect another defeat for us. The cultivators from the celestial realm all shook their heads. What did it matter that Ji Wuming was a monarch star? He could only collect another defeat for them. Ji Wuming glanced at Sen Luo. Boom! A formidable aura surged into the surroundings. 10th secret. Everyone exclaimed in astonishment. Chapter 2256. Might of Ji Wuming. Ji Wuming was actually at the 10th secret. This was beyond everyone's expectations. In their eyes, Ji Wuming was only on the same level as Shichanzi and Hong Huang. In other words, he should have only been at the 9th secret. He had a chance to turn the tide for the celestial realm. However, the cultivators from the foreign realm simply chuckled coldly. So what if he was at the 10th secret? They had 3 monarch stars at the 10th layer of the 8th lotus. Moreover, there was also an invincible 11th layer elite. If the celestial realm had possessed 3 10th secret elites, while the foreign realm had only possessed 1, the former could have still achieved victory through continuous battle. However, the situation was flipped around right now, so it was difficult to imagine anything other than a defeat for the celestial realm. An additional challenger would only mean an additional defeat. You're quite strange, Sen Luo said as he stared at Ji Wuming. There was a hint of apprehension in his eyes. His opponent was indeed only at the 10th secret, which was identical to him. However, standing before Ji Wuming, he felt a slight chill running down his back. Ji Wuming remained silent, and his gaze was as piercing as arrows. He was brimming with killing intent. He had fought here in his previous life, and he had done so for countless and countless years. His hatred for the foreign realm was deeply ingrained in his very being. Whoosh! He directly charged forward, swiping his palm down at Sen Luo. Sen Luo hurriedly raised his arm to block. Pang! 2 streaks of light collided. Theoretically speaking, they were both at the 10th secret, so any exchanges between them should have been evenly matched. After all, they were both monarch stars, so who would be weaker than the other? However, this was not the case. Like a paramount celestial tool, Ji Wuming's palm strike directly slammed down, ruthlessly tearing through Sen Luo's attack as if it were butter. Sen Luo was astounded, and he hurriedly jumped back in retreat. Ji Wuming pursued him, his expression ice-cold as a burning killing intent emanated from his body. It was as if he had transformed into a god of slaughter. One person fled, and one person gave chase. Sen Luo was actually no match for Ji Wuming. The cultivators from the foreign realm were all shocked upon seeing this. This was far too unfathomable. In a battle at the same cultivation level, they were actually being suppressed. That was Sen Luo, a monarch star. The cultivators from the celestial realm hadn't expected this, either. Ji Wuming becoming a 10th secret elite was already a huge surprise. However, what delighted them more was the fact that he was actually so powerful. He could suppress even monarch stars. Only Ling Han didn't find this strange. In his previous life, Ji Wuming had already been a top-notch 9th heaven celestial king. As such, his battle prowess among those at the same cultivation level was naturally astonishing. If his battle prowess had remained the same after reincarnating, then what would have been the bloody point of reincarnation? Simply put, Ji Wuming had most likely already possessed the ability to become a heavenly Venerate in his previous life. How could such a person not be freakishly powerful after reincarnation? The cultivators from the celestial realm faltered for a brief moment before immediately shouting in joy. They could win this battle. Moreover, this was a victory against Sen Luo, a monarch star at the 10th layer of the 8th lotus. Boom, boom, boom. Ji Wuming unleashed numerous powerful attacks, and his battle prowess soared as if there were no limit. Ha! Why does he give me such a familiar feeling? A celestial king murmured. Ji Wuming's aura and appearance were extremely unfamiliar, yet there was a strange sense of overlap with a mighty figure in his memory. Oh, Brother Qing Lian, you also have such a feeling? Another celestial king remarked with a surprised expression. Has that mighty being returned? a third celestial king asked. There was fervor on his face. In the past, that mighty figure had been far too domineering. One time, he had charged into the foreign realm by himself, killing 3 17th Lotus Elites and 1 18th Lotus Elite. Not only that, but he had even managed to escape from the relentless hunt of a heavenly Venerate from the foreign realm. That had significantly boosted the morale of the celestial realm. Of course, that mighty being had also paid a heavy price for this. According to rumors, his cultivation had been completely crippled, and he had then vanished from existence. It was said that he was cultivating in seclusion in order to recover his cultivation. No one knew where he was right now. However, Wuming's appearance now reminded the 9 celestial kings of that mighty being. In a battle at the same cultivation level, his battle prowess was invincible. The celestial kings from the foreign realm were also astonished by his performance. Wuming was far too powerful. If he continued to develop, he would definitely become a nemesis of all 9th heaven celestial kings. No, he might even ascend to greater heights and transcend above the regulations. This young man must die. That's right, we can't allow him to fully develop. Otherwise, he'll definitely become a formidable foe. They exchanged messages using their divine senses, and they were already in unanimous agreement to kill Wuming no matter what. Wuming was indeed powerful. After 1,000 or so exchanges, Sin Luo had already suffered broken hands and broken feet. If it weren't for the interference of a celestial king from the foreign realm, he would have failed to even escape from Wuming's grasp. His life would have been ended. Wuming stood still, with his hands clasped behind his back. The gentle breeze caused his robes to flutter, making him appear graceful like a celestial. Graceful yet powerful. Admiration and adoration instantly appeared in the eyes of many women, who could barely stop themselves from throwing themselves into his arms. Wuming! 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 The cultivators from the celestial realm cheered in unison. Even the ascending origin tier elites wore emotional expressions, and they willingly offered their knees to Wuming. They were completely won over by him. If Wuming raised his arms and called for followers, countless people would definitely be willing to join him. However, Wuming didn't pay any heed to this. Instead, he simply swept a cold gaze over the cultivators from the foreign realm, and said in a baleful voice, "Next." Humph. A woman from the foreign realm stepped forward. She was humanoid, and her skin was also red like her ilk. Similarly, she also had a tail. However, she had 3 horns on her head, and these horns were all pitch black like ink. Meanwhile, her hairstyle was as wild as could be, and each strand was much like a braid. Moreover, her wings were surprisingly only composed of a few bones, and as they flapped behind her, they exuded a mighty and paramount aura. Na Yu! The cultivators from the foreign realm cheered. This was Na Yu, another monarch star at the 10th layer of the 8th lotus. Wuming didn't speak, and he simply charged forward to attack. I'll send you to the afterlife. Na Yu flapped her wings, and she shot forward like a streak of light. Pang! Wuming's fist transformed into a claw form, and he instantly sent Na Yu flying with a swipe. He immediately changed his fighting style. This completely broke up Na Yu's rhythm. When spectating Wuming's battle against Sin Luo just then, she had already attained some level of understanding of his fighting style. From this, she had then developed a tactic to target him. In fact, she had even received some secret guidance from the celestial kings. However, Wuming had directly changed his fighting style, and this rendered her plans completely useless. Moreover, Wuming was indeed powerful, and each of his strikes was forceful enough to make her chest boil and churn. This was an indescribably terrible feeling. She gritted her teeth and endured, yet after 1,000 strikes, she ultimately reached her limit, and had a wing brutally ripped off by Wuming. Broken bones scattered through the air, and warm blood violently sprayed through the sky. She howled in pain, and she was overcome with fury. However, what did this matter? She was directly dragged back by a celestial king from the foreign realm. If she had continued to battle, death would have been her only fate. 2 consecutive victories. Thunderous cheers boomed through the crowd of celestial realm cultivators. Even though they had achieved 2 consecutive victories before, that had been completed by 2 different people, Hunyou and the Rain Emperor, there was no one who had achieved 2 consecutive victories by themselves. He was far too powerful. This was far too inspiring. Meanwhile, the cultivators from the foreign realm all wore solemn expressions. Losing to cultivators from the celestial realm in a battle at the same cultivation level was the most unacceptable thing in their minds. Their dimension was of a higher level, so maintaining a crushing advantage over their opponent was imperative. The celestial kings from the foreign realm also radiated with killing intent. Should we directly deploy Xueqi? A celestial king asked. No, we must achieve victory in a battle at the same cultivation level. Before this, we've already lost to that small girl and that man. We have to claim a victory. Then deploy Xueqi. This Wuming has already fought 2 battles in a row, so he definitely doesn't have much power of regulations remaining. As long as Xueqi drags things out, he can definitely win. Agreed. Send Xueqi over. Chapter 2257. Xueqi. The foreign realm quickly sent forth a new challenger. It was a giant centipede that measured 300 meters in length. Each segment of its body was pitch black, and there were also blade-like spikes growing on the fringes of its exoskeleton. Just its appearance alone was enough to make one nauseous. Looking closely, there were also numerous symbols on its body. These were the regulations of poison. However, they didn't need to strike their targets, and just a glance at them would activate the effects of the regulations. Ordinary Immortal Palace tier elites would be immediately killed. The celestial kings on both sides immediately took action, blocking Xueqi's regulations off from the cultivators on their side. Otherwise, it would be hard to say how many people would be killed. The regulation of poison was extremely domineering. Xueqi, the centipede said with his divine sense. Like a snake, a third of his body arched into the air as he breathed a cloud of black air. However, this wasn't the regulation of poison. Instead, it was the regulation of slaughter, which had materialized into a god tool that appeared powerful enough to cut the skies. Wuming remained silent yet again as he charged forward to engage in battle. Xueqi didn't face his attacks head-on. Just then, he had already been notified by the celestial kings to prioritize defense. That way, he could exhaust Wuming's power of regulations and achieve certain victory. Even though he was displeased about this, he had no option but to do as he was told. After all, the gulf between him and the celestial kings was far too great. As wanton as he was, he still didn't dare to disobey them. Moreover, this battle was far too important for the foreign realm. They definitely had to win this battle at the same cultivation level. Moreover, he was the last person who could achieve this. If Xueqi stepped forward, they could naturally win with ease. However, a victory gained by relying on his cultivation level to suppress his opponent naturally wouldn't be satisfying. It was also insufficient to suppress the morale of the celestial realm. He activated a movement technique, and did his best to evade. Even though his body was long, his agility was astonishing, and each of his legs was more so able to unleash devastating auras of slaughter. Combined with his potent poison, people could only give him a wide berth. However, his opponent was Wuming. He was a domineering being who had massacred prodigies of the foreign realm in his previous life. Today, he was even more powerful. As if transforming into a primordial heavenly demon, Wuming emanated with a boundless killing intent that churned like the sea. He finally unleashed his renowned ultimate ability. Transforming into a Vajra battle god, he completely ignored Xueqi's attacks as he charged forward, and made a tapping motion. Wang! Time be old, and the ancient be desolate. Boom! A bloody and gaping wound instantly appeared on Xueqi's back. In fact, he was almost slashed in two. Eternity tap! Everyone exclaimed. This included several celestial kings from the foreign realm. They had suffered at the hands of the celestial technique before, and it could be said that they had suffered huge casualties. It's truly that mighty being, the celestial kings from the celestial realm exclaimed. They almost clasped their heads in surprise, and they had no care about their demeanor as celestial kings at this moment. Only Wuming was completely unfazed. Right now, he was simply intent on killing Xueqi. His Vajra battle god state allowed him to directly ignore Xueqi's counterattacks. Meanwhile, he continued to unleash his eternity tap, and it was as if he yearned to forcefully obliterate this heaven and earth. After just 100 exchanges, Xueqi was dragged away and rescued by the celestial kings of the foreign realm. Otherwise, he would have been killed. At this moment, the foreign realm fell deathly silent. This was a 1 versus 3 situation, and these were more so battles at the same cultivation level. Only they should have been able to achieve this, yet right now, a cultivator from the celestial realm had also achieved this. He was far too powerful, no? If such a person went to the foreign realm, just how powerful would he become? Meanwhile, the cultivators from the celestial realm started to chant Wuming's name again. The celestial kings were more so filled with emotion. That formidable being had truly returned. He was a staunch proponent for battle, and he was as assertive as could be. With him present, even if the celestial realm were at a disadvantage, he could still rile their fighting spirit 100-fold. We have no option but to send Xueqi. Also, call some more people over. In a moment, we're going to kill this reincarnation of that death god. The celestial realm will definitely resist, so just the few of us aren't enough. Indeed. The 9 celestial kings from the foreign realm secretly made contact, desiring to call more celestial kings over. Wuming was far too terrifying, so they had to dispose of him as soon as possible. On the other side, the celestial kings from the celestial realm also delivered news of this. They could predict that the foreign realm wouldn't let Wuming off the hook so easily, so they also wanted to call more celestial kings over to protect this reincarnation of that mighty being. In the future, he was destined to become a general of the celestial realm. The foreign realm remained silent for a long time before a man finally dashed over. With a single step, he was able to cover a boundless distance. Xueqi. The chants and cheers from the foreign realm were thunderous. This was their true Pillara Supreme Monarch star at the 11th layer of the 18th Lotus. His battle prowess had more so entered the ascending origin tier, and his strength was simply indescribable. The cultivators from the celestial realm all looked toward this prodigy. He was a humanoid, and he looked no different from the other members of the foreign realm at first glance. However, the aura that was emanating from him was far too terrifying. In fact, even monarch tiers had to prostrate before him. In the eyes of the foreign realm, this was a future heavenly Venerate. Xueqi peered down at Wuming, and a hint of arrogance tugged at the corners of his lips. Who would have thought that there was a competent cultivator in the celestial realm? However, it's beneath me to defeat you at this moment. I'll give you 1,000 years, and we can do battle when you advance to the 11th layer. Upon hearing this, both the cultivators from the foreign realm and celestial realm couldn't help but find him arrogant. A celestial king from the foreign realm said in a cold voice, "He's the reincarnation of the War Buddha. He must be killed." Xueqi gave a slight "oh," saying, "You're actually the reincarnation of the War Buddha? Heh, I had yet to be born when you barged into our world at that time. I've only heard about you from others." He surprisingly didn't pay any heed to the celestial king's command, and this was indeed a reflection of his arrogance. "Now I'm slightly interested in you. Come, let's exchange a few strikes. Rest assured, it's beneath me to kill the current you. Only when you reach the same cultivation level as me will I unleash my full power." Wuming didn't immediately attack this time. Instead, he looked Xueqi up and down, and said, "You're a descendant of Qi Yan?" "Indeed, my ancestor is none other than Heavenly Venerate Qi Yan," Xueqi said with pride. Heavenly Venerate. Everyone was shocked upon hearing this. No wonder Xueqi was so powerful, and no wonder he dared to ignore celestial kings. This was because his ancestor was a Heavenly Venerate. "Qi Yan?" Wuming said with a cold chuckle. A look of reminiscence flashed across his face, and he said, "He hunted me back in the day, and he left me with unerasable memory." Xueqi roared with laughter, and he said, "My ancestor hunted you back in the day, and now it's me who's going to kill you. You trash from the super low-level dimension should give up your resistance earlier, and allow us to engulf your world." Wuming didn't reply anymore. Instead, he used his actions to speak. "Worthless," Xueqi sneered. He replied with a punch. Pang! Wuming was instantly sent flying, yet divine light flashed across his body. Surprisingly, he wasn't annihilated by this strike. Everyone was astounded. Just what kind of concept was the 11th layer of the 8th Lotus? That was equivalent to the ascending origin tier. An ascending origin tier elite had attacked an immortal palace tier elite, yet he hadn't killed him in a single strike? Was this a joke? It could only be said that Wuming was far too powerful. Interesting, Xueqi said, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. Wuming was truly heaven-defying. He was only at the 10th secret, yet he could actually muster some strength to resist him. If Wuming were also an 11th secret elite, then would he have any hope of victory? Absolutely not. Xueqi knew not about modesty, yet he had to admit that Wuming was far too extraordinary. Since this was the case, he would kill him right here and now. Killing intent rose in his mind, and he completely forgot about the words that he had spoken just a moment ago. Right now, there was only a single thought running through his mind. He definitely couldn't allow Wuming to take another step forward, and therefore threaten him. Die, he roared. He finally unleashed his full strength. Boom! Crimson light exploded from his body, dyeing the entire sky a sanguine red. Chapter 2258. Ling Han's Arrival. Wuming was extremely powerful, truly very powerful. In fact, he had reached a height that even past 9th Heaven celestial kings had not managed to reach. However, there was still a huge gulf between the 10th secret and the 11th secret. Those at the 10th secret were still immortal palace tier elites, while those at the 11th secret could rival ascending origin tier elites. Even though Wuming's strength was heaven-defying, it was still impossible for him to surmount this incredible gulf. He was immediately pushed onto the back foot, and after 100 or so exchanges, it was already clear that he was struggling. After 200 exchanges, it was only a matter of time before he would be defeated. Let's end it here, a celestial king said as he reached out, and separated Xueqi and Wuming. This time, the elites from the foreign realm didn't interfere. This was because they had already made a decision to kill Wuming once their reinforcements arrived. In fact, they would kill everyone present. They had lost this battle, yet the cultivators from the celestial realm were still ecstatic. They had suffered defeat, yet they had also obtained glory. An immortal palace tier elite losing to an ascending origin tier elite was nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, Wuming being able to withstand so many attacks from Xueqi was proof of his inconceivable power. Once he advanced to the 11th secret, he would definitely be able to kill Xueqi with ease. The celestial realm had a bright future ahead of it. Moreover, there was also a pseudo-monarch star like Hunyeo, and there was also a rising star in the Rain Emperor. With Wuming to top them off, the younger generation of the celestial realm was no weaker than that of the foreign realm. In fact, they were perhaps even superior. Meanwhile, the cultivators from the foreign realm all wore dark expressions. Not only had they failed to lower the celestial realm's morale this time, but they had even managed to boost their confidence instead. This was truly a case of going out for wool and coming back shorn. Xueqi wore a cold expression as he gazed at the cultivators from the celestial realm. His fighting spirit was burning, and his killing intent was almost tangible. He was incredibly pissed that he had failed to kill Wuming. He wouldn't be able to suppress his fury unless he killed a few people. Who wants to die? He asked coldly. No one from the celestial realm answered. Right now, no one in the immortal palace tier could rival Xueqi. Ahem. Ling Han cleared his throat as he stepped forward. It was finally time for him to enter the fray. Han Lin, come back! Nyehashan hurriedly shouted. He knew that Ling Han was a monarch star, yet he was only a measly second secret cultivator. Stepping forward was akin to seeking death. Shan Chao chuckled coldly upon seeing this. Xueqi was powerful enough to rival him, naturally wouldn't admit that Xueqi was more powerful than him, so Ling Han's action was indeed no different from seeking death. Although he lusted to kill Ling Han with his own hands, killing a comrade from the Clear Heaven Pass would also cause huge trouble for him. Thus, it was best that he didn't have to act himself. The others also shook their heads. What could a measly second secret cultivator do? Even if there were 10,000 of them, Xueqi could easily kill them all with a single press of his finger. Ha ha ha! The cultivators from the foreign realm roared with laughter. Even a second secret cultivator dares to step forward. Has the celestial realm got no one else to send? The super low-level dimension is indeed weak. Even a second secret cultivator dares to step forward. You? Xueqi glanced at Ling Han before immediately cracking up with laughter. This was a measly second secret cultivator. To say nothing of using his hands, just a single glare from him would be enough to suppress this ant. Piss off! His roar boomed like thunder, and it materialized into a gigantic wave of spears. Didn't you want an opponent? I'll battle against you, Ling Han said calmly. When he said the word battle, it transformed into a glowing golden symbol that soared toward the gigantic wave. Pang! The two collided, and the gigantic wave was instantly calmed. A look of surprise instantly spread across Qi Shue's face. He carefully looked at Ling Han and said, "You're not at the second secret." "Who said I was at the second secret?" Ling Han said with a smile. Boom! His aura started to soar, instantly reaching the third secret. Something like this was possible. Everyone was astonished. However, a third secret cultivator still couldn't rival an 11th secret elite. This was a paramount rule of the cultivation world. The gulf between these two cultivation levels was immense and insurmountable. Still not enough? Ling Han asked with a smile. His aura shuddered, and he instantly advanced to the next level. He had advanced to the fourth secret. The onlookers came to a sudden realization. Ling Han had definitely used some kind of secret technique to conceal his true cultivation level. In reality, he was definitely at or above the 10th secret. Otherwise, he couldn't have possibly survived Qi Shue's roar. A realization dawned on someone, and they suddenly shouted, "Chicken Slayer!" The celestial realm had a mysterious monarch star. They had reached the 10th secret, and they had easily defeated Yamu with a single punch. However, he had vanished without a trace afterward, and no one knew who he was. Now that a mysterious elite had suddenly appeared, and seeing that it was extremely likely that he was at the 10th secret, who could he be if not the Chicken Slayer? Qi Shui frowned upon seeing this. "Stop mucking around. I hate this type of person the most." Ling Han chuckled and said, "You might hate it, but what's that got to do with me?" Boom! His aura soared again, reaching the 5th secret. Die! Qi Shui was unable to tolerate this any longer, and he immediately dashed forward, throwing a punch at Ling Han as he did so. If Ling Han wanted to, he could kill Qi Shui with a single thought. However, in order to hide the fact that he was the ruler of this realm, he had no option but to reply with a punch of his own. Pang! He remained as steady as a mountain, while Qi Shui was sent stumbling back 7 steps. What? Qi Shui had actually been suppressed in a head-on clash. Not only were the cultivators from the foreign realm shocked, but even the cultivators from the celestial realm were deeply astonished. The Chicken Slayer is actually this powerful. He's not at the 10th secret, but the 11th secret. Heavens! Our celestial realm also has such a supreme monarch star. Everyone clasped their heads in shock and astonishment. How could they have imagined this? Ling Han wasn't at the 10th secret, but actually at the 11th secret. In fact, his battle prowess was even superior to that of Qi Shui. Meanwhile, Qi Shui's eyes widened in shock. He was slightly dumbfounded, and he was barely able to believe what he was seeing. His encounter with Wuming had already been shocking enough. Fortunately, he had been one minor level above Wuming, so he had still been able to suppress him using this advantage. This allowed him to maintain his feeling of superiority. Now, however, this feeling of superiority was shattered into smithereens. Not only was Ling Han at the same cultivation level as him, but his battle prowess was even superior. How is this possible? He was the descendant of heavenly Venerate Qi Yan, and the ancestral blood that flowed through him was extremely thick. Apart from fellow descendants of the heavenly Venerate, he should have been invincible at the same cultivation level. Was this truly a fucking super low-level dimension? Ling Han roared with laughter. With a single thought, he instantly unleashed the powerful aura of an 11th secret elite. Since he wanted to ensnare and kill the celestial kings of the foreign realm, he naturally had to put on a good show. He pointed at Qi Shui and roared, "Red-haired monkey, you dare to battle me?" Red-haired monkey. Qi Shui instantly flared up in rage. However, he would rather battle against an 11th secret Wuming than Ling Han, as this person simply spoke too much. Moreover, his words were all filled with bobs that were sharp enough to make one vomit blood before even engaging in battle. If Ling Han's battle prowess had been inferior, he could have at least destroyed him in an instant. That way, he could spare himself from the pain of listening to Ling Han's toxic nonsense. However, Ling Han's battle prowess was clearly superior, so he naturally couldn't shut him up at all. Come battle! He didn't want to speak anymore, and with a bound, he immediately charged toward Ling Han. Pang! 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 Ling Han casually exchanged blows with Qi Shui. He was the ruler of this heaven and earth, so if he battled here, even ninth heaven celestial kings would be no match for him. This wasn't a brag. It was the simple truth. However, in order to trick the foreign realm, he still acted as if Qi Shui was extremely powerful, and that he was only a tiny bit stronger. Even so, this small advantage still allowed Ling Han to quickly gain the upper hand. Gradually, this upper hand transformed into a crushing advantage. The cultivators from the foreign realm were all speechless and gaping in shock. Qi Shui was the most powerful 8th Lotus Monarch star, yet even he was unable to rival Ling Han. In other words, the remaining 8th Lotus cultivators would all be defenseless against Ling Han. No, they couldn't accept this. Qi Shui, you definitely have to win. Combust your ancestral bloodline. You're the descendant of Lord Qi Yan. The cultivators from the foreign realm all shouted in unease. Chapter 2259. Full-Scale Battle. Qi Shui roared in rage. He didn't want to lose. At the same cultivation level, only he had the right to crush others. Boom! He truly combusted his ancestral bloodline, causing a burst of mysterious power to course through his body. This was a tremendous power that transcended the regulations. Ling Han was instantly seized by a feeling of rising discomfort. It was as if someone were challenging him. He immediately understood the situation. The power within Qi Shui's body had most likely exceeded the level of a 5th heaven celestial king. As such, it was unwelcome by this heaven and earth, which desired to quash it. However, with a single thought, he forcefully suppressed the urge of the regulations. Qi Shui had only combusted his ancestral bloodline, so Ling Han refused to believe that he could directly rival heavenly Venerate elites. This was indeed impossible. Qi Shui's battle prowess rose several folds under the influence of this power, yet he could at most only advance from the small accomplishment of the ascending origin tier to the great accomplishment of the ascending origin tier. Even so, this was a terrifying rise of 100-fold. Ling Han also joined the act, saying, "You think that only you possess a secret technique?" With a roar, his body was instantly intertwined with arcs of blinding white lightning. God of lightning, bestow upon me your strength. Boom! His aura soared, and even though his cultivation level remained the same, his battle prowess rose to a level similar to that of Qi Shui's. Upon seeing this, Hunyao couldn't help but clap her hands and laugh out loud. Ling Han was truly so amusing. Meanwhile, Qi Shui was so enraged that he almost suffered internal injuries. Ling Han was definitely doing this on purpose. So be it if he activated a secret technique, but was there any need for such exaggerated shouting? You've enraged me. You've truly enraged me. Qi Shui roared. He shook his fists, unleashing wisps of divine light. Right now, his battle prowess could definitely rival those at the great accomplishment of the ascending origin tier. However, Ling Han was unfazed, and he continued to trade blows with Qi Shui. Both of them had unleashed their secret techniques, and both of them were unleashing their physical might. They clashed head-on, and their battle was as ferocious as could be. Ling Han became increasingly powerful as the battle dragged on, and he eventually regained his advantage even though Qi Shui had become 100 times more powerful. Moreover, this was an absolute advantage. At this moment, the cultivators from the foreign realm looked as if they had lost their parents. How was this possible? This was the descendant of a heavenly Venerate, someone who could be regarded as an invincible monarch star. Yet, even after combusting his ancestral bloodline, he was still losing to measly trash from the celestial realm? How could they accept this? Not only were they astounded, but even the celestial kings from the foreign realm wore dark expressions. They could understand Ji Wuming's power, but just how in the world was Ling Han so freakish? A celestial king from the foreign realm immediately lashed out. At this moment, he was in no mood to care for the rules anymore. Instead, there was only a single thought in his mind: definitely couldn't allow Ling Han to leave this realm alive. Otherwise, he would definitely become a great threat to the foreign realm. Several epochs ago, the celestial realm had produced an outstanding individual who had obstructed the foreign realm's advance with his strength alone. His actions had forced the foreign realm to spend the next few epochs stabilizing the connection point between the two realms, unable to launch any further invasion during this time. This was a world where cultivators were paramount. One certainly couldn't underestimate the influence of an elite. If given the opportunity, they could potentially overthrow the heavens. You dare? The celestial kings from the celestial realm naturally lashed out in reply. Ling Han had provided them with far too many surprises. As it turned out, there existed a prodigy who was even more freakish than Wuming. That being the case, they naturally had to protect him at all costs. In the future, they would also have to nurture him while sparing no expenses. One day, he would stand alongside Wuming to resist the invasion of the foreign realm. Humph! This brat dies today. Several more elites from the foreign realm joined in on the conflict. Not only did they attack Ling Han, but even Wuming became one of their targets. The 9 celestial kings from the celestial realm all engaged in battle, protecting Ling Han and Wuming with their full strength. Whoosh! The reinforcements from the foreign realm arrived. They were all at the celestial king tier, and they were more so all at the 14th lotus. This was the limit of what this heaven and earth could withstand. Where's the reincarnation of the murderous Buddha king? An elite from the foreign realm asked as he glanced around with raging killing intent in his eyes. Over there. The 9 celestial kings from the foreign realm replied as they pointed at Wuming. They then pointed at Ling Han and said, however, this brat is even more freakish. Even Xueqi can't rival him. What? The celestial kings who had just arrived couldn't help but exclaim in astonishment. This was far too astounding. Perhaps Xueqi didn't activate his ancestral bloodline, they hurriedly said. He activated it. However, he was still outmatched. The newly arrived celestial kings were rendered speechless. However, their killing intent soared, and they hardened their resolve to kill Ling Han at all costs. Do you think there's no one in the celestial realm? At this moment, the reinforcements from the celestial realm also arrived. There were 34 celestial kings in total, and they ranged from the 1st heaven to the 5th heaven in cultivation. Call for more reinforcements. A 14th lotus elite from the foreign realm said with a humph. Competing in the number of celestial kings? What a hilarious joke. How many celestial kings could such a super low-level dimension possess? Meanwhile, how many did they possess? They were on 2 completely different levels. Ling Han was still waiting. Even though there were already 37 celestial kings from the foreign realm, his ambition was even greater. He wanted to kill more. The elites from both sides were engaged in an intense battle. One side attacked, while the other side defended. Gu Tang, you're skilled in the regulations of space, so take these 2 away first, a celestial king shouted. Good idea, a celestial king immediately replied. His title was Gu Tang, and he was skilled in the regulations of space. He immediately grabbed at Ling Han and Wuming. In your dreams, an elite from the foreign realm shouted as they immediately dashed forward to obstruct Gu Tang. Many more celestial kings from the celestial realm stepped forward to protect Ling Han and Wuming, yet even more elites from the foreign realm charged forward, intent on killing the 2 of them. In the end, celestial king Gu Tang found no opportunity to grab Ling Han and Wuming. Right now, the elites from the foreign realm were seemingly crazed as they attempted to kill these 2 prodigies. As a result, the celestial kings from the celestial realm had no option but to defend with their full strength. This was a ferocious battle that involved many celestial kings. In fact, more and more celestial kings from both sides continued to join the battle, causing it to become increasingly violent and ferocious. In fact, it was so intense that even heaven and earth started to tremor as if it were going to shatter. Send a few more, Ling Han said in his mind. At the same time, he continued to disguise himself as an 11th secret cultivator, someone who couldn't threaten celestial kings at all. The blood of celestial kings splattered through the sky. Before long, the death of celestial kings also ensued. There were celestial kings from the celestial realm, and there were also celestial kings from the foreign realm. If this were in the celestial realm, the death of celestial kings would trigger a reaction from heaven and earth, causing blood rain to fall. However, this realm was independent, so the death of celestial kings triggered no such reaction, regardless of whether the dying celestial kings were from the celestial realm or the foreign realm. Celestial king blood drenched the sky. This was a petrifying sight, with each drop of blood containing devastating powers of regulation that could easily kill a crowd of ascending origin tier elites. There were chaotic scenes, and those below the Celestial King tier could only flee for their lives. In order not to expose himself too soon, Ling Han also chose to flee. He avoided the hotspot of the battle. However, because he was one of the triggers for this battle, how could the elites from the foreign realm possibly allow him to flee? As such, many of them followed closely behind him. He fled left and right, and he took this opportunity to draw Hu Niu and the others into the Black Tower. Meanwhile, the Rain Emperor seized this opportunity to participate in the battle. He was a natural-born fighter, and Ling Han was also unable to stop his second brother. Thus, he could only stay far away from him such that the Rain Emperor wouldn't be dragged into the Celestial King tier battle. Of course, if the Rain Emperor truly faced perilous danger, Ling Han would naturally unleash his might earlier. In his eyes, nothing was more important than family and friends. Han Lin. A figure appeared before Ling Han, blocking his path. Ling Han was slightly surprised because this person was none other than Shen Chao. He knew that Shen Chao was jealous of him, yet to target him at such a critical moment? This person was truly as petty as could be. "What do you want?" he asked calmly. "I'm here to kill you," Shen Chao replied in a cold voice. Chapter 2260. Vile Person. If Ling Han had been truly at the 11th secret, he would have definitely attempted to end this conflict as soon as possible and flee. After all, each second wasted was a step closer to death. However, he was the ruler of this heaven and earth. All of the celestial kings here combined were still no match for him. Thus, he was in no hurry as he smiled and said, "Oh, why is that?" "Because you deserve to die," Shen Chao replied as he lashed out. He couldn't waste any more time. It was because the celestial kings from the two realms were holding each other back that he had this opportunity to act. However, he definitely didn't have much time. He didn't dare to let Ling Han develop. He was actually at the 11th secret. 11th secret. If Ling Han advanced another step, he would be able to rival or even suppress him. He couldn't accept this. However, where was his confidence coming from? Ling Han had just been engaged in an intense battle, and he had more so combusted his ancestral bloodline or activated some secret technique. Thus, his battle prowess was definitely far inferior to that before. As such, this was the best opportunity to strike. Afterward, he could lay the blame on the cultivators from the foreign realm. In this heaven and earth, even the divine sense of celestial kings couldn't observe anything across a great distance. Thus, he didn't need to worry about being caught. Boom! He retrieved a weapon. This was no sparring session right now, but an act of killing someone. He didn't need to follow any rules. A precious pagoda hovered about his head. This pagoda had 7 levels, and it was snow-white in color. Rays of earthen yellow light radiated from it, and each was astonishingly dense. In fact, they were powerful enough to shake ascending origin tier elites to death. Detestable thing. Exterminate this imposter. Small Tower immediately shouted. TSK, it's at it again. Ling Han shook his head. Small Tower disliked all other pagoda-shaped treasures. Die! Shen Chao lunged over, with his precious pagoda exuding a powerful aura and shooting rays of light at Ling Han as he did so. He had yet to arrive, yet a devastating pressure had already surged over. Even ascending origin tier elites would shudder in the face of this pressure. Ling Han retreated, choosing not to face this attack head-on. Shen Chao roared with laughter. This was the only time that he had ever gained an upper hand against Ling Han. He couldn't help but feel euphoric. He dashed over, throwing a punch. Imbued with the regulations contained within the precious pagoda, his punch then transformed into an earth dragon. Shen Chao, you're using public office to avenge private resentments. What audacity! Ling Han said in a calm voice. Shen Chao sneered, and said, My ancestor is a 7th heaven celestial king, and I'm also a monarch tier myself. Moreover, I'm the most doted descendant of my ancestor, so he'll help me escape punishment no matter what troubles I cause. Ling Han shook his head upon hearing this. This person had truly been ruined by his doting seniors. If Ling Han were truly an 11th secret monarch star, and if he were truly killed by Shen Chao, it would be easy to envision every single ninth heaven celestial king flaring up in wild rage. They would capture Xin Chao and brutally tear him to pieces. The death of such a person would be no pity. Han Lin, after killing you, I'm also going to seek out your women. Do you want to guess what I'm going to do to them? Xin Chao asked in a sinister voice. Ling Han's gaze involuntarily became ice-cold. Initially, he had still had the patience to deal with this person. Now, however, his patience had vanished. Moreover, the number of celestial kings from the foreign realm had already reached 137. It was almost time to act. Ling Han lashed out, grabbing at Shen Chao. You're seeking death, Shen Chao said with a sneer. The precious pagoda above his head had been personally refined by the ancestor of the Shen clan. Even though it wasn't a celestial tool, it possessed a wisp of a celestial king's power. He couldn't channel the full power of this pagoda by himself, yet the rays of light that shone from it were powerful enough to mercilessly suppress all ascending origin tier elites. Yet, Ling Han actually dared to attack? Was he not seeking death? Have a taste of pain, Shen Chao said with a sneer. At this moment, Ling Han's hand had already made contact with the rays of light. Pang! There was a crisp cracking sound as Ling Han's hand punched through the rays of light and grabbed the precious treasure. With a powerful twist, the precious pagoda that had been forged from heaven knew what level pseudo-divine metal was then instantly reduced to pieces. When Ling Han's hand fell down again, it had already wrapped around Xin Chao's neck. Everything had occurred far too quickly, so much so that Shen Chao still hadn't come to his senses. He wore an expression of confusion as he dazedly stared at Ling Han. How was this possible? That was an 8-star treasure personally refined by his ancestor. Even ascending origin tier elites couldn't have shattered it. Yet, Ling Han had crushed it with a single hand? This was unfathomable. Impossible, impossible, impossible. Shen Chao could only mutter this word. All right, let me show you something even more impossible, Ling Han said with a smile. He turned around. It was finally time for him to reel in the net. Measly human, offer me your life. Upon discovering Ling Han's whereabouts, a celestial king from the foreign realm instantly charged over. There was no celestial king protecting Ling Han right now, so it was the best time to kill him. No! The celestial kings from the celestial realm roared. Regardless of how prodigious Ling Han was, the gulf in cultivation level between him and celestial kings was far too huge. A celestial king could reduce him to ashes with a single casual attack. No! Shen Chao also shouted. This was because he was being held by the neck by Ling Han. If attacked by a celestial king, he would definitely die as well. Wouldn't that be a huge loss? What the hell did this have to do with him? Why did he have to die alongside Ling Han? Ling Han wore a beaming smile, and he said, "It's fine, it's fine." He raised his arm and made a light pressing motion. Wang! The celestial king's attack ground to a sudden halt before shattering to pieces. The surroundings became deathly silent. That was the attack of a celestial king. Yet, Ling Han had casually blocked it just like that. Was this possible? Was this realistic? Were they not dreaming? However, after faltering for a brief moment, the celestial kings immediately started to scour the surroundings. Who had helped Ling Han? To convince them that a measly immortal palace tier elite had blocked a celestial king's attack? Impossible. Humph. The foreign realm elite sneered before launching another attack. Boom! He unleashed a ray of black light that shot toward Ling Han like an arrow's. Hurry up and release me! Xin Chao roared. Ling Han was about to die, so why did he have to drag him down alongside him? A celestial king could block 1, 2, 10, or even 100 attacks for Ling Han. However, they would eventually make a mistake. Once they made a mistake, the fate of him and Ling Han would be sealed. Right now, he couldn't care less about whether Ling Han died or not. Most importantly, he didn't want to die. Ling Han shook his head. I already said, it's fine. Why won't you believe me? He raised his arm and made a pressing motion again. The ray of black light immediately stopped. In fact, it even turned around to shoot back at the elite who had launched it. The celestial kings were all stunned upon seeing this. Blocking a celestial king's attack was no great feat after all, There were innumerable fifth heaven celestial kings here. However, to reflect the attack of an 11th Lotus elite, even fifth heaven celestial kings couldn't achieve such a feat. What in the world was going on? I don't believe this. The foreign realm elite roared as he started to accumulate power for an ultimate attack. He was convinced that Ling Han was being protected by a powerful celestial king. He was at the 11th Lotus, so he was definitely no match for fifth heaven celestial kings. However, he would definitely find an opportunity to exterminate this measly immortal palace tier cultivator. This was only a matter of time. Everyone would eventually make a mistake, even celestial kings were no exception. This was especially the case since he was unleashing an ultimate attack. Just a single remnant shockwave would be able to kill Ling Han. Have you gone mad? Hurry up and dodge. Dodge. Shen Chao bellowed. He truly didn't want to die at all. At this moment, he was even willing to call Ling Han his ancestor. My great ancestor, I beg you to please dodge. That's a mighty celestial king tier figure. However, Ling Han simply smiled as he raised his right foot and stomped down at the foreign realm elite. Chapter 2261. Might Unleashed. Ling Han's foot immediately transformed into a colossal black foot that was as large as a mountain as it descended upon the foreign realm elite. Everyone shook their heads upon seeing this. This was an ant challenging a lion. To say nothing of transforming his foot into a mountain, even if it were transformed into a celestial body, what good would it do? Before a celestial king, such power was measly and insignificant. Moreover, he dared to actively challenge a celestial king tier elite? And to use his foot at that? Just how much disdain was he expressing? The foreign realm elite was incandescent with rage. Just because you have the protection of a celestial king, you dare to treat me with such utter disdain? You're seeking death. He was accumulating power for an ultimate attack, so he paid no heed to Ling Han's attack. This was only an 11th secret weakling, so what did it matter even if the celestial king was hit? Once the latter unleashed his attack, the greatest threat to the future of the foreign realm would be reduced to ashes. No, no, no. Shen Chao's face was pale with fright. Ling Han's attack would definitely be futile against that celestial king. However, when the celestial king counterattacked, both he and Ling Han would be blasted into oblivion. He didn't want to die. Boom! The foot landed, and with a pop, the foreign realm elite immediately vanished without a trace. Only the colossal foot remained, seemingly tangible in its existence. Gasp! Ah! Ha! Everyone fell deathly silent. Much like the time when Ling Han had blocked the attack of the foreign realm elite just then, no one could believe this result. Measly immortal palace tier elites were like ants before celestial kings. However, with a single stomp, a celestial king tier elite had actually disappeared? No, even his aura had vanished. It was as if both his figure and divine sense had been destroyed. Who could accept this? Who could believe this? Do you believe me now? Ling Han asked with a smile as he glanced at Shen Chao. Shen Chao's mouth was agape with shock. He was stupefied, and his mind was blank. Ling Han raised his foot. Boom! That colossal foot also rose. When the dust settled, everyone could see the bloody pulp that had once been the foreign realm elite. Interestingly, the foreign realm elite had possessed the shape of a cockroach. As such, it was as if Ling Han had truly trampled a pest to death. A mighty 12th One Lotus elite had actually died just like that? He had died in such a vexing manner. Commotion ripped through the realm. Everyone had already recovered from their shock, and what remained was strong doubt and immense confusion. Was there truly an elite protecting Ling Han? A fifth heaven celestial king could indeed crush third heaven celestial kings. However, which celestial king wasn't a prodigy? Even with a gap of 2 minor levels, the result shouldn't have been so lopsided, right? Moreover, due to the limit of this realm, those above the fifth heaven couldn't enter. As such, how could this be explained? Perhaps the celestial realm has come up with a special way to send those above fifth heaven celestial kings in? A foreign realm elite speculated. Perhaps we've come up with a special way for those above fifth heaven celestial kings to enter. A celestial king from the celestial realm murmured. I don't believe this. An elite from the foreign realm shouted as he stepped forward. He reached over and made a pressing motion at Ling Han. Boom! Countless symbols lit up, and a paramount aura suffused through the surroundings. This was a 14th Lotus Elite. This was the power of a 5th Heaven Celestial King, the strongest power that could exist in this realm. At this moment, the elites from the Celestial Realm also forgot about trying to save Ling Han, or perhaps it was better to say that they had been sent into numb shock by the elite behind Ling Han. They wanted to see how this figure would deal with this attack. Ah! Shen Chao was scared out of his skin. He refused to believe that Ling Han truly possessed the power to rival Celestial Kings. As such, he once again became pale with fright. In fact, he hadn't always been such a cowardly person. However, after being attacked by Celestial Kings several times, he naturally couldn't control his emotions anymore. Boom! A large hand reached over, causing the entire sky to shudder. This was paramount power. Ling Han smiled faintly as he balled his hand into a fist. Boom! Pang! The large hand instantly shattered. The elite from the foreign realm groaned as a trail of blood flowed from his right hand. The backlash of the regulations had wounded him. Upon seeing this, all of the Celestial Kings came to a solid conclusion. Ling Han wasn't being protected by a Celestial King or whatnot. Instead, he truly possessed the power to rival a Celestial King. How was this possible? He was only at the 11th secret. Shen Chao was also numb with shock as he stared at Ling Han. At this moment, he felt as if this person was a demon. There was nothing but terror in his mind. Ling Han chuckled and said, "You dared to attack me? Quite the courage, huh?" He unleashed a boundless killing intent, and with a flash, he had already appeared before that 14th Lotus Elite. He then threw a punch. Celestial Kings were naturally powerful, and their divine senses were also extremely sharp. At almost the exact same moment that Ling Han appeared, the 14th Lotus Elite had already lashed out, striking at Ling Han's face. This time, Shen Chao's reaction wasn't so pathetic. He surprisingly didn't squeal. Looking closely, however, his eyes had already rolled into his head. He had fainted from fright. Ling Han's formidable might had shocked him into unconsciousness. Pang! Ling Han's punch was faster, and he immediately struck the 14th Lotus Elite's head. Like a watermelon, the elite's head exploded into bits. Pang! His headless body then swayed for a brief moment before collapsing to the ground with a heavy thud, throwing dust into the air. There was no grieving from heaven and earth. His death was like that of an insignificant ant. Ling Han's movements were practiced as he searched this elite's body, and retrieved his spatial god tool, stuffing it into his pockets. He had truly done this many times. Gulp. There was the sound of uncomfortable swallowing. That was a 14th Lotus Elite, the equivalent of a 5th Heaven Celestial King. If there were no exceptional circumstances, monarch tiers could only reach such a level as well. However, Ling Han had actually killed such an elite at a whim? He had crushed them like an ant. Just then, who had called Ling Han an ant? Why didn't they step forward now? Their death would be guaranteed. Why you obtained the Origin Magic Cube? An elite from the foreign realm stammered as he pointed at Ling Han. He finally came to his senses. Not good. Ling Han grinned and said, "There's finally a smart person. However, it's too late." The expressions of the elites from the foreign realm changed drastically. They weren't afraid of the fact that Ling Han had obtained the Origin Magic Cube. This realm was far too small, so even though Ling Han had obtained the Origin Magic Cube, he could only obtain the battle prowess of an 8th Heaven or 9th Heaven Celestial King at most. He would still be no match for heavenly venerates. However, once he self-destructed this realm, that would trigger a devastating storm of energy that might even affect the stability of the connection point between the two realms. At that time, even heavenly venerates would have trouble trying to enter. This was what worried them the most. There's no need for you people to consider so much, because I'm going to obliterate each and every one of you. Ling Han said in a cold voice. There was no sympathy and pity when it came to this battle between the two realms. There was only death and destruction. Things would only conclude when one side was thoroughly destroyed. Leave! An elite from the foreign realm roared. This brat was nowhere near the Celestial King tier. However, after obtaining the Origin Magic Cube, he had become the ruler of this realm. That they had been able to enter this realm proved that they were inferior to the power of this realm. As such, they would naturally be no match for Ling Han. In other words, facing him head-on wasn't an option. That would merely be seeking death. In any case, there were over 130 Celestial King tier elites from the foreign realm. If they charged out together, would not even a single one of them survive. Boom! The elites from the foreign realm turned around to flee. By the looks of it, they could only seek the help of a heavenly Venerate to destroy this realm. Even if that delayed their invasion by 10 billion years or an epoch, it would still be worth it. Have I allowed you to leave? Ling Han said in a cold voice. He was going to unleash his divine might. Chapter 2262. Arrival of Heavenly Venerate. Ling Han moved like a tiger that had rushed into a flock of sheep. With every punch, a foreign realm Celestial King would be killed. Simple and violent. The Celestial King tier elites were actually like helpless lambs, completely incapable of fighting back. Everyone's scalp turned numb at this. It was as if Ling Han had become a 9th heaven-level great demon, killing or sparing as he liked, with everything under his control. The Celestial Realm's Celestial Kings were all rueful. Who would have expected this moment? Ling Han had definitely been deliberately holding back, and waited until enough kings of the foreign realm had come to finally brandish his butcher's knife. Thus, this was locking the gates and beating up the dog, a complete massacre. No one could stop Ling Han. He was the master of this world. Unless a heavenly Venerate interfered, or a pseudo-heavenly Venerate arrived, who would be able to become his match? Die! 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 Ling Han was like a demon from hell. In his eyes, not a single bit of mercy could be seen. The two realms were enemies, and him killing the foreign realm cultivators was equivalent to saving his own home, so it was naturally impossible for him to have any mercy. It was not just the celestial kings of the foreign realm. Monarch stars like Xueqi, Sin Luo, and the others were also on Ling Han's kill list. If these monarch stars were allowed to mature, they all could become 9th heaven celestial kings. In fact, it was possible that they could even become heavenly venerates. No! Pang! Sin Luo had just exclaimed this one word when his head had exploded with a merciless punch from Ling Han. So what if he was a monarch star? In the face of pseudo-heavenly venerable tier power, he was just trash. Ling Han was expressionless, manifesting millions of himself, and simultaneously hunting down all the cultivators of the foreign realm. Na Yu howled sharply, her 3 horns glowing at the same time, and seals brilliantly shining while forming a sea of light. Then it was no use at all. With a tap of Ling Han's finger paw, she turned into shattered bits. Xueqi fled madly, but a flash of sword light swept out towards and instantly caught up with him, slicing him into millions of pieces. He was deader than dead. Don't even think of killing me. Qi Shui roared loudly. He finally understood why there was such a gap between himself and Ling Han. The latter had hold of the origin magic cube, and could kill even a celestial king with a single punch, what more him, who was only at the 11th layer of 8th lotus. He was defiant. He could not submit. He was a descendant of heavenly venerate Qi Yan, indescribably noble and esteemed. How could he possibly die in this place? He murmured softly. A strange power was surging. He was reciting the true name of heavenly venerate Qi Yan. It was very rare that the true name of a heavenly venerate was known to others because reciting it would lead to a great karmic reaction and a strong connection. However, Qi Shui was the descendant of heavenly venerate Qi Yan, and the true name of this heavenly venerate was carved into his bloodline. Qi Shui activated his bloodline, manifesting the true name of heavenly venerate Qi Yan, which turned into a light that illuminated the whole world. Reciting the name of a heavenly venerate would lead to great karma because a heavenly venerate was actually not recognized by the heaven and earth. After summoning a sliver of divine sense of his, he naturally would be targeted by the heaven and earth. Ling Han immediately sensed it. A power that was so strong it caused his heart to shudder was presently becoming stronger endlessly. It should be known that he presently was a pseudo-heavenly venerate. To make his heart shudder, just how strong would that power have to be? Heavenly venerate Qi Yan was about to appear. Ling Han humphed, and with a thought, Qi Shui really turned into bits of blood, and the process of summoning the heavenly venerate was immediately stopped. No! The foreign realm kings were all roaring in fury. Xueqi was really too important. Not only was he an invincible monarch star, he was also the descendant of a heavenly Venerate. What are you howling for? Ling Han asked coldly, and his manifestations moved at the same time, killing one foreign realm king after another. However, a hole had still been forcibly ripped in the skies. A figure appeared, yet it was so pale that it was close to transparent. But even so, he was still exuding an incredibly strong aura, as if a single thought from him was capable of shattering this heaven and earth. Lord Qi Yan. The members of the foreign realm that were still surviving all fell to their knees, their expressions filled with reverence. This was the heavenly Venerate Qi Yan of the foreign realm. The members of the foreign realm were all overjoyed. As they saw it, a heavenly venerable tier only had to appear, and there would be nothing that could not be resolved. Unlock the seal and let them go. Heavenly Venerate Qi Yan spoke. Suddenly, a terrifying aura surged out, just like an earthquake or a tsunami. Ling Han couldn't help but grin. Even if a sliver of divine sense from you truly descended, it is not certain that you would even be my match. What more when it is only a shadow now? Old geezer, just go somewhere you're actually wanted. I will eventually chop off your wretched head one day. How dare you? Insolence! Those from the foreign realm all berated Ling Han furiously. He actually dared speak in such a manner to a supreme heavenly Venerate. Their flames of fury were completely ignited. In the hearts of those from the foreign realm, heavenly venerable tier was an indestructible god. This is my world, so scram! Ling Han sent out a punch. Boom! Heavenly Venerate Qi Yan's shadow was immediately destroyed. Those from the foreign realm were all gaping, rendered completely incapable of speech. Though that was only the shadow of a heavenly Venerate, not even a sliver of divine sense, to just watch as Ling Han destroyed it with a single punch still struck them a very powerful blow. This was practically heaven-defying. Ling Han humphed, and his eyes swept over them, his killing intent blazing. A heavenly Venerate had already been alerted. He definitely had to move as soon as possible. Otherwise, this heavenly Venerate would very soon arrive. This new world would not be able to block a heavenly Venerate. What more when the foreign realm did not just have a single heavenly Venerate? Pang pang pang. Multiple streaks of blood sprayed out, and no one was a match for Ling Han at all. In merely the time for a few breaths, Ling Han had slaughtered all the beings of the foreign realm. He was bathing in the blood of these enemies, standing proudly in the air. Even if he was just a lone figure, others still felt that even if thousands of troops came from the foreign realm, they would still be unable to compel him to take a step back. Shen Chao came back to consciousness slowly. His legs were trembling as he said, I submit, I submit, I submit. Again and again, he repeated these words. Ling Han humphed and retorted, You took advantage of your official position to avenge a personal grudge. If it were not for the fact that my strength is superior to you, I would have long since become a lonely ghost. Whom are you trying to deceive with those words? For a vile character like you to be alive is merely a waste of resources. His killing intent was still blazing, bearing the aura of having killed the various celestial kings of the foreign realm. It was incredibly frightening. Shen Chao had actually been scared to the point of pissing himself. It could not be helped. He was facing someone who was equivalent to a pseudo-heavenly Venerate. Moreover, he had been terrified so many times previously, so all his courage had long since been frightened out of him. He no longer possessed a sliver of the bearing that a monarch tier should have. Please have mercy. A celestial realm hurriedly spoke up. This is a member of our celestial realm. You cannot render a personal punishment on him. No matter how many of the foreign realm Ling Han killed, it would be contributing to the celestial realm, but if he killed a comrade of the celestial realm, that would be a great crime, what more when Shen Chao was still a monarch tier. In the future, his accomplishments would definitely reach the fifth heaven celestial king, at least a power that could not be overlooked. Ling Han moved, and Shen Chao's head immediately exploded, both form and spirit destroyed. He had already spared Shen Chao several times, but not only did the latter not curb himself, he even wanted to kill Ling Han now. Did he think that he was made out of clay, and had no temper, or was a saint? The celestial king who had spoken up couldn't help but bear an ugly expression. He had some connections with the celestial king of the Shen clan, and had thus taken the initiative to speak up. He had not thought that Ling Han would not give him any face at all. Hadn't he just gotten extremely lucky, and obtained the origin magic cube? As long as he left this place, the Celestial King would be able to crush this damn bug with a single finger. However, it was only he that held this kind of displeasure. The others, including Celestial Kings, were all incredibly elated because they had killed over 130 kings of the foreign realm in this battle, as well as a great many well-known figures of the enemy's younger generation. This was definitely a heavy blow to the foreign realm. If it was the celestial realm, they would probably need at least 2 to 3 epochs to be able to recover from this loss. Long live! Everyone cheered. Pang! However, right at this moment, this world trembled, as if it was about to collapse. Chapter 2263. Redeeming Military Merit. The world was trembling violently, seemingly close to collapsing. Ling Han's face paled, and he felt so horrible that he wanted to throw up blood. This world was presently sustaining a heavy blow, and he was fused with this world. Since the heaven and earth was being damaged, he too would feel it. He could see very clearly. At the foreign realm's end, an incredibly terrifying being was presently attacking the neutral zone. Blasting out an attack caused the whole world to shake violently, incapable of bearing it at all. Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen. He was already here. In such a short while, he had rushed here from who knew which corner of the foreign realm. His speed was really chilling. And it was unknown whether this was his real self or not. He was about 30 meters tall, his upper body bared, and covered with seals all over his skin. Even if Ling Han was now at the pseudo-heavenly venerable tier, he still could not clearly see the detailed appearance of these seals. There was another millions and millions of meters tall image behind him. With each punch, that image would also send out a punch, which would land on the neutral zone, causing the whole world to tremble and teeter dangerously close to collapse. When Ling Han's divine sense swept over, Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen immediately sensed it. He too looked over, and it was as if his eyes could traverse the endless distance and see Ling Han's true self. "Let's go!" Ling Han exclaimed quickly. With just a mere glance like that, it was like all the blood in his body was boiling, and he felt like he was about to explode into pieces. This new world would not be able to block a Heavenly Venerate at all. Only the great heaven and earth of the celestial realm could do so. With a curl of his great hand, everyone flew, and were tossed instantly out of the neutral zone, arriving beneath Clear Heaven Pass. Ling Han turned around. In this place, he could still see the image that the Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen had manifested. That was really too terrifying. He really had the great aura and might that could shatter the heaven and earth with a single punch. "Small Tower, let me ask you something," Ling Han suddenly spoke up, communicating with Small Tower. After the time for at least 100 heartbeats, Ling Han nodded and stepped out of the neutral zone. With his exit, Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen actually stopped attacking as well. It seemed like his gaze could penetrate through the millions and millions of km of space, and was still fixed on Ling Han. However, in the heaven and earth of the celestial realm, there was a stronger power that was suppressing the power of Heavenly Venerable Tier. Ling Han finally lost the feeling of being close to exploding, but was still feeling very terrible. Ling Han cast a meaningful glance. This was the power of a Heavenly Venerate, and was also power that he wanted to attain and surpass. He would remember it. He suddenly turned around and left, heading off towards Clear Heaven Pass. The moment he entered into Clear Heaven Pass, he heard thunderous cheers. "Chicken Slayer! Han Lin!" Everyone was calling his name. People lined up on either side of the long streets, all of them extremely inspired. Ling Han knew that it had to be that the fact that he had killed celestial kings from the foreign realm through trickery in a single battle had already spread out. Though there were some foreign realm kings that had not been killed by him, he had killed at least 90% of them, and what the celestial realm needed now was a superhero to uplift their morale. Thus, they were all considered Ling Han's kills, making his halo even more dazzling. His face bearing a smile, he nodded repeatedly at the people in the area as he accepted the rewards from the heaven and earth. Killing beings of the foreign realm in Clear Heaven Pass was considered ridding the heaven and earth of evil, and one could get rewards from the heaven and earth. However, it would not be directly bestowed, but rather calculated as military merits, which one could trade in at the sacrificial altar of Clear Heaven Pass. In this battle, Ling Han had killed hundreds of foreign realm kings, as well as countless ascending origin tiers, immortal palace tiers, dividing soul tiers, and severing mundane tiers. The military merits that he had gained were naturally extremely high. In history, was there any pseudo-heavenly Venerate that had joined the battle? Heavenly Venerable tier was not recognized by the heaven and earth at all. Even if they killed and killed, it would still be impossible for them to gain military merits. Thus, the military merits Ling Han obtained would probably make a mark in history all at once. He strode forwards, heading directly towards the sacrificial altar. An ascending origin tier elite appeared, and said to Ling Han, "Han Lin, the celestial kings are summoning you." Ling Han nodded, and replied, "All right. Wait until I do something first. It will not take too much time." That ascending origin tier frowned slightly. The celestial kings were summoning him, and this brat actually did not immediately go? But even if the man had extremely great courage, he would not dare do anything against Ling Han. The Ling Han now was the greatest hope of the celestial realm that had provided outstanding service. If he dared touch a hair on Ling Han's head, not only would he be blasted into bits, he would also be nailed onto the pillar of shame in history. Hence, he could only follow behind Ling Han, looking depressed. Among the cheers, Ling Han arrived at the sacrificial altar. The sacrificial altar was extremely simple. It was just a pentagonal stone altar, but upon closer look, Ling Han discovered that the material used to construct the stone altar was extraordinary, possessing astonishing seals of light that were supreme and noble. He walked onto the sacrificial altar, and an object that was akin to a decree immediately appeared in his mind. A series of names were written on it, filling it densely. These were the resources that the heaven and earth allowed for redeeming. Ling Han even saw the 1,000-year dream pill. This pill recipe had long since been lost, but it could actually be redeemed from the heaven and earth in this place. Everything in this world was created by the heaven and earth. Even alchemical pills and so on were still formed after obtaining various ingredients in this world, which were formed naturally by the heaven and earth. "I want level 20 godly metal," Ling Han said mentally. Instantly, a hole cracked open on the sacrificial altar. Countless metals dropped, and Ling Han's military merits was subtracted continuously by the heaven and earth. Ling Han was unconcerned. He wanted to advance the divine demon sword to celestial tools level, and he had already made this decision long before when he had decided to kill the foreign realm elites through trickery. He received the godly metal from below, stowing all of it into the Black Tower. The ascending origin tier elite watching from behind him was completely baffled. Ling Han was actually using a large amount of military merits to redeem level 20 godly metal? Was there something wrong with you? Even redeeming pseudo-divine metal was better than this. His heart was aching painfully. Though level 20 godly metal was not worth much military merit, this was still an ocean's worth. All the military merits added together made even his eyes bloodshot with envy. Wasteful. This was really too wasteful. Yet Ling Han was completely unconcerned. When he felt like it was enough, he finally stated, "That's enough." Instantly, his military merits stopped subtracting, and the bestowing of godly metal also stopped. It should be enough to upgrade the divine demon sword. Ling Han checked, and there was still about 2/3 left of his military merits. "I'll redeem some more celestial medicine," Ling Han stated, spending his military merits without any meanness. This was only a useless figure on himself. It was only truly beneficial once it could be traded for real items. As he redeemed stuff, understanding rose up in his heart. Everything in this world, to be frank, was actually regulations, including himself. He, too, was also merely regulations. The form was secondary, and regulations were the primary element. Of course, Ling Han had absolutely no plans of giving up his physical body. Regulations were the display of strength, and enjoying life would need a physical body to realize. "Right, I'll redeem some of this stuff as well." Ling Han's eyes lit up. He discovered a tool that was called Heaven and Earth Origin Stars, which was exceedingly expensive, but its might was also incredibly powerful, and could deliver a celestial king tier level attack. Once he had traded in all his military merits, Ling Han was finally satisfied. "Let's go," he said to that ascending origin tier elite. That man had long since gotten impatient from waiting. With a slight humph, he led the way ahead. Actually, he looked down on Ling Han slightly, and thought that Ling Han had only been able to attain such a great merit purely because he had gotten a stroke of sheer dumb luck, and obtained the origin magic cube. If it was anyone else, it could be done as well. Chapter 2264. Appearance of the Imperial Void Celestial King. That ascending origin tier elite brought Ling Han to a large palace. This great palace was really too majestic, with light of Tao enshrouding it, and emanating an air of utter dominance. Ling Han was sure that this great hall had to be a precious treasure. He channeled the heaven-deceiving technique, concealing his own aura. More importantly, it was to conceal the existence of the Black Tower. There were a great many Ninth Heaven Celestial Kings here. Led by that ascending origin tier, Ling Han entered into the great palace. When they arrived here, the back of that ascending origin tier elite involuntarily bent as he revealed a cautious look, seeming like he did not even dare to breathe too heavily. This was natural. There were many Celestial Kings seated in the great palace, and several Ninth Heaven Celestial Kings were seated loftily on the other end of the great palace, as if they were immortal gods. Han Lin, you have accomplished great service for the celestial realm. The Eternity Celestial King spoke first, his voice resounding strongly, and possessing supreme austerity. This was his true self. What had appeared at the Saintly Origin Academy was merely a sliver of divine sense from him, a manifestation, and could not be compared with his true self at all. Ling Han appeared extremely modest, and bowed slightly towards the Eternity Celestial King. Thank you for your praise, Lord Eternity. It is indeed a merit that will not be erased for ages, another Celestial King said. All those that could speak at this moment had to be Ninth Heaven Celestial Kings. Her title was 1,000 Words, and she was one of the rarer female Celestial Kings. The saying is true. Throughout history, heroes have emerged from the youth. A Celestial King dressed in Tao robes stroked his beard and smiled slightly. His title was Cloud Void, and he naturally was also a Ninth Heaven Celestial King. The Celestial Kings were not stingy with their praise. Aside from the fact that Ling Han had killed a great many elites from the foreign realm, his own natural talent of cultivation was also extremely valued by the Celestial Kings. I propose that we nurture this boy as much as possible, the Eternity Celestial King said. He had a very high opinion of Ling Han. With the natural talent of this boy, added with the Eternity Celestial King, it is possible that he could surpass the limitations of the regulations and become a Heavenly Venerate. Heavenly Venerate. The Celestial Kings all looked solemn. This was an existence that was superior to regulations. Even in the entirety of the celestial realm, there were only 3 such overlords. I agree, the Everlasting Youth Celestial King immediately said. He was close friends with the Eternity Celestial King. I agree as well. The Treading Cloud Celestial King expressed her own stand as well. I disagree. Right at this moment, a figure appeared at the doorway of the palace, casting a long shadow, and emanating a boundless pressure on the Celestial Kings. Imperial Void. The Eternity Celestial King's eyes narrowed as he spat out these words. Instantly, Ling Han's heart jolted as he looked towards this person. This was a youth who looked to be no more but 16 or 17 years old, but his sideburns were already snow-white, revealing an air of age. He was clearly just one person, but standing there, he was like an immovable god that no one could possibly surpass. Powerful, extremely powerful. Ling Han had a feeling that even if he was still in the neutral zone, it would not be easy for him to kill this person. This was an instinct that could not be described, but Ling Han was absolutely certain about it. The Imperial Void Celestial King, an overlord among the Ninth Heaven Celestial Kings, an existence that could definitely be ranked into the top 10, or even the top 3. Small Tower had once said that when the Imperial Void had been in Severing Mundane Tier, he had repeatedly crippled his own cultivation level and started again, right until he could deliver no more strikes to the heaven and earth, and only then did he advance into the Dividing Soul Tier. This kind of being was probably endlessly close to the Heavenly Venerable Tier. No. There was still a very large gap between him and the Heavenly Venerable Tier, Ling Han immediately corrected mentally, but the latter was truly just a step away from pseudo-Heavenly Venerable Tier. Even Celestial Kings like Eternity Celestial King would probably not last 100 moves against him. This was the personal disciple of a Heavenly Venerate, and was extraordinarily powerful. What do you mean? The Everlasting Youth Celestial King asked. The Imperial Void Celestial King strode in, a frightening aura surging out. All the Celestial Kings in the palace were intimidated by him, and actually fell completely silent. He stated calmly, I think that this boy should hand over the Origin Magic Cube. When these words fell, all the celestial kings immediately rose in a storm of protest. It could be said that Ling Han had performed a great service for the celestial realm, but the first words from the Imperial Void Celestial King were actually to demand that Ling Han's strongest treasure was to be taken from him. Wouldn't this just be bitterly disappointing the rest? If they acted in such a manner, who would still be willing to work for the celestial realm? The Imperial Void Celestial King continued, I have already touched the edges of the heavenly venerable tier. I have certainty that if I had the origin magic cube, I could break through to the heavenly venerable tier within the next 100 million years. He paused, and then continued, if I become a heavenly venerate, I will definitely be able to push our enemies out of our borders, and guarantee that the celestial realm will be safe for millions and millions of epochs. Tell me, does the slightest bit of selfishness underlie my actions? Ling Han was speechless for a while. The Imperial Void Celestial King clearly wanted to take the origin magic cube for his own, yet still spoke of it in such a grand noble manner, as if his cause was just and righteous. It had definitely surpassed the upper limits of shamelessness. The celestial kings exchanged looks, appearing very hesitant. The Imperial Void Celestial King was an absolute prodigy in his youth, leading a whole era. Just the fact that he had delivered strikes to the heaven and earth until he could not any more in the severing mundane tier was a clear show of some traces of his freakish genius. Furthermore, when he advanced into the 9th Heaven Celestial King tier, he had also become the highest grade of elite. There were at most only 10 that could be his equal, and he could even rank in the top 3. His superior strength truly shook the past and shone in the present. If it had to be said that there was anyone in this world that would be most qualified to become the next heavenly venerate, the Imperial Void Celestial King was definitely one of them. To be honest, after the Imperial Void Celestial King obtained the origin magic cube, how high would be his chances of advancing into the heavenly venerable tier? Probably very high. This kind of existence was really just a line's breadth away from the heavenly venerable tier, and the origin magic cube was the stepping stone that could push open the doors to this final stage. The importance of a heavenly venerate was really much too great. The reason why Clear Heaven Pass had been guarded with such difficulty was because they did not have a heavenly venerable tier standing guard here. Otherwise, there would be endless regulations they could channel, and even if the celestial realm side only had a single heavenly venerate, he could be treated like 3, 5, or even 10 celestial kings. If the Imperial Void becomes a heavenly venerate, everyone thought, it would only need 100 million years, and the situation of the celestial realm would be improved by an unknown number of times. With such thoughts, quite a number of celestial kings were moved. As they saw it, the importance of the celestial realm naturally far surpassed the benefits of 1 or 2 people. The Imperial Void Celestial King turned to Ling Han again, and said, Youth, hand over the origin magic cube. I will not mistreat you, and I will take you as a disciple. In the future, it is not impossible that you, too, would be able to touch the borders of the heavenly venerable tier. Ling Han smirked coldly. He had long since had a stomach full of anger, and it finally exploded as he demanded, Dare I ask Lord Imperial Void, where is your master? The master of the Imperial Void Celestial King was naturally the sealed emotion heavenly venerable, and Ling Han's words were very direct and meaningless was not that the celestial realm did not have any heavenly venerates. Your master was one, but had he stepped forward and done anything for the sake of the celestial realm? Even if you became a heavenly venerate, so what? Would you really work for the benefit of the celestial realm? If there was only one heavenly venerate, without great determination, would you be able to block the heavenly venerates of the foreign realm that numbered at least in the dozens? The sealed emotion heavenly venerable had become a coward, so how could Ling Han trust that the Imperial Void Celestial King would be an exception? That was right. Ling Han had complete confidence in himself, and was certain that even if he did not have the origin magic cube, he would still be capable of becoming a heavenly venerate, though it was possible that the process would be more complicated and troublesome. Hence, he could afford to let go of the origin magic cube. The problem here was there was absolutely no way he was going to hand it over to the Imperial Void Celestial King. The Imperial Void Celestial King actually did not get angered, but instead smiled. Youth, you are really quite brave. However, whatever I want, there has never been anyone that can refuse me. He moved directly, grabbing out at Ling Han. Chapter 2265. Snatching. The Imperial Void Celestial King had moved. The Eternity Celestial King humphed and exclaimed, Imperial Void, You have gone too far. He moved as well, helping Ling Han to disperse this attack. Boom! The whole great palace trembled, and a terrifying storm of power surged out madly. All those celestial kings below 8th heaven were sent flying. A 9th heaven celestial king was too strong, and both Imperial Void and Eternity were two of the strongest of them. The aftermath of a single blow would have that kind of might. Only Ling Han was still standing where he had been, for the Eternity Celestial King had blocked the attack that had blasted towards him. Eternity, you dare stop me? Imperial Void Celestial King demanded menacingly, his expression icy. In his awareness, there had long since been no worldly concept like right or wrong. Everything was for the sake of pursuing the true pinnacle of cultivation. And now there was a chance laid out in front of him. Whether the other would give it to him of his own volition, or he moved to snatch this chance, he was determined to obtain it. The Eternity Celestial King also looked furious as he exclaimed, "This boy has done a great service for the celestial realm, yet as his senior, you actually wish to deprive him of his treasure. Have you no shame?" Shame? The Imperial Void Celestial King laughed loudly. "In the face of the survival of the celestial realm, you speak of shame with me? Hee, Eternity. A cultivator should sever his emotions and connections. Your obsession is too strong. It is no wonder that your battle prowess has stagnated." The Eternity Celestial King sneered, "Imperial Void, do you dare swear a Tao oath that you will be willing to battle for the sake of the celestial realm after becoming a heavenly Venerate, right until your last drop of blood?" Instantly, the Imperial Void Celestial King's smile withdrew. For elites like them, Tao oath was actually a questioning of their own hearts. Once they had sworn a Tao oath, if they could not fulfill it, they would encounter great danger when they attempted to break through to a higher cultivation level. This was a backlash that came from their own heart, and was more dangerous than anything else. At first, 9th Heaven Celestial Kings were already incapable of further progress, so they naturally had no need to fear any Tao oath, but it just so happened that the Imperial Void Celestial King still wanted to become a heavenly Venerate. That was a completely different story. "No words to refute me," the Eternity Celestial King scoffed. "Though this brat is outrageously bold, his words ring true. What has your line done for the celestial realm?" Quite a number of celestial kings nodded at this. Originally, if there had been 3 heavenly Venerates as their commanders, the pressure on Clear Heaven Pass would have been reduced countless times over. The Imperial Void Celestial King frowned. He naturally would not be concerned about the opinions of these celestial kings, but at present, he wanted what belonged to Ling Han. If he angered these celestial kings, there was no way he could succeed. After all, there were indeed a few celestial kings that could be his equal, and if 2 or 3 of them joined forces, they would be able to stop him. He suppressed his killing intent, and said, "The heavenly venerable tier has surpassed the regulations, and is not recognized by the heaven and earth. Every time one appears and makes a move, they would be taking the great risk of being killed by the heaven and earth. Thus, before reaching the very crucial point, how could a heavenly Venerate possibly step out?" These words gained the agreement of a great many celestial kings. The Imperial Void Celestial King was right. Though heavenly venerable tier was superior to regulations, they were also not recognized by the heaven and earth because of this. "Excuses." The Eternity Celestial King sneered. "Imperial Void, these words of yours will only be able to deceive those celestial kings that have just advanced. 8 epochs ago, the connecting point between the 2 realms was already incredibly stable, and even the heavenly Venerates of the foreign realm could enter. At that time, was there any heavenly Venerate that had moved? Yes, but there was only one, the karmic life heavenly venerable. He battled 11 heavenly Venerates of the foreign realm, and in the final moment, he used himself to fuse with heavenly Tao, barraging the connecting point of the 2 realms, and causing it to shatter, and this was what guaranteed as much as 8 epochs time to recuperate for the celestial realm." When these words fell, the newly promoted celestial kings and even the mighty figures that had only advanced to the celestial king tier in the latest 5 to 6 epochs were all stunned. This was a page of history that had been erased. Who would have imagined that the celestial realm had almost been conquered 8 epochs ago? Realization finally dawned on Ling Han. The karmic life heavenly venerable had died in that manner. With him alone facing 11 enemies, no matter how strong the karmic life heavenly venerable was, what could he do? There was absolutely no way he could be their match. Anyone who could become a heavenly Venerate had to be a supreme elite. In a one-on-one battle, It was hard to say who would emerge victorious. What more when there was such a large disparity in the numbers? Hence, in the end, the karmic life Heavenly Venerable could only fuse himself with Heavenly Tao, and barrage the connecting point of the two realms, causing it to shatter, and once again become unstable, winning the chance for the Heavenly Realm to rise again after the calamity. But it had already been so dangerous at that time, yet still not one of the three great Heavenly Venerates moved. This was practically a betrayal of the celestial realm. No, Small Tower was very wary of the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable and the others, so they must even have been on opposing sides. Then, these three were even more despicable. Could it be that they had still been holding the karmic life Heavenly Venerate back at such a crucial moment? Ling Han really could think of no reason why the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable and the others would do that, but the truth was the truth. The Imperial Void Celestial King's expression was already dark. Fixing his eyes on the Eternity Celestial King, he declared menacingly, regarding the secret history of that era, "My master as well as the other two lords have already decreed that it is to be forever sealed in that time, and you actually dare reveal it. That is a grave breach." Ha ha ha. The Eternity Celestial King laughed loudly. "Didn't you say that Heavenly Venerable tier is unrecognized by the heaven and earth? How could it be that a Heavenly Venerate would come and hunt me down for such a paltry matter? Then I would really like to ask, is it those paltry events of the past that are more important? Or is the resistance against the foreign realm more important?" These words had really hit the nail on the head. The Imperial Void Celestial King's killing intent blazed, and solidified to enshroud him. "Eternity, I thought that you were a smart person since you could live so long, but now it looks like you only accomplished that because you had slightly good luck. If the celestial realm dies, everyone will be finished. I truly do not understand what your line as well as the other two lines mean, just simply sitting by and watching as the celestial realm teeters precariously on the edge," the Eternity Celestial King mused, emanating an indescribable grief and indignation. If the three great Heavenly Venerates could join forces in battle, the situation would definitely be different. A short-sighted character naturally would never be able to understand, the Imperial Void stated calmly. Stretching out a hand, he pointed at Ling Han. "Hand over this boy, and I will turn and leave. Otherwise, I will unleash a massacre today." "I don't believe that." The Everlasting Youth Celestial King stepped out, standing on the Eternity Celestial King's side. He was also infuriated. "Neither do I." Another Celestial King stepped out. It was the Thousand-Word Celestial King. "Me as well." This was the Cloud Void Celestial King. As many as 7 Ninth Heaven Celestial Kings stood on the same side as the Eternity Celestial King, facing the Imperial Void Celestial King directly. "Are you all tired of living?" the Imperial Void Celestial King demanded coldly. Among these 8 Celestial Kings, only the Eternity Celestial King and Everlasting Youth Celestial King were worthy of his notice. Though the others were also 9th Heaven Celestial Kings, the gap in their battle prowess was a little wide, and he was completely unafraid of them. Even the line of sealed emotion cannot do as they please, the Eternity Celestial King declared decisively. "I am definitely going to protect this brat." "Then you can all just go and die." The Imperial Void Celestial King moved, stretching out a hand. Instantly, countless palms appeared in the palace, blasting out simultaneously at the 8 great Celestial Kings. The Eternity Celestial King roared furiously, and a celestial light surged out of his body, turning into an incredibly stunning sword chi. The other Celestial Kings moved as well, charging to attack the Imperial Void Celestial King. The 9 great Celestial Kings battled fiercely, and very soon, they had exited the great palace. Flying into the skies, they broke out into an intense exchange of blows. The Imperial Void Celestial King was indeed powerful. Even if it was only him against 8 opponents, he still did not fall into a disadvantage, and the fact that he could be ranked as one of the strongest Celestial Kings was definitely not because of the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable. "Han Lin!" A loud shout rang out, and Hong Huang walked over, his eyes set on Ling Han. "In the academy, you actually dared to rebuff my favor, and now you dare to disobey senior brother Imperial Void. You are merely seeking your own death." He lashed out, moving to attack Ling Han. Chapter 2266. Need help. Hong Huang was very overbearing. At Saintly Origin Academy, he already dared to make a move on Ling Han in full public. Though he had not killed or wounded him, he had directly destroyed Ling Han's abode. There was no one that could discipline him, because he was one of the sealed emotion heavenly venerables people, the disciple of a heavenly venerate. And now, he was similarly making a move on Ling Han with absolutely no scruples, because he knew that Ling Han's power only originated from the origin magic cube. Aside from that, he was only a second secret monarch star. He too was a monarch star and a ninth secret at that. Just how wide was the gap between the two of them? Thus, he attacked Ling Han without any reservations. He too wished to touch the origin magic cube, to peer into a sliver of the secrets of regulations. Ling Han did not face him head-on. In a situation when he could not use the origin magic cube, there was naturally no way he could be a match for a ninth secret. The gap between them was really too wide. Void space unfolded, and he formed millions of manifestations. Boom, boom, boom. Hong Huang barraged him madly, and the Celestial Kings had no intention of interfering. Those that wanted to interfere had long since done so, stopping the Imperial Void Celestial King from attacking Ling Han, and now this was merely a ninth secret that was flaunting around arrogantly. Naturally, there was even less of a possibility of them interfering. In any case, he was at the same cultivation level as Ling Han. Ling Han dodged continuously, the expression on his face turning colder and colder. No matter what, he was still a member of the Celestial Realm, and hoped that the Celestial Realm could be saved. He still had a high opinion of a monarch star like Hong Huang, who would be able to fight for the Celestial Realm in the future. This was why he had not made a move on Hong Huang in the neutral zone, but now that he thought about it, this was completely unrealistic. Since when had the line of sealed emotion battled for the Celestial Realm? He shook his head. Hong Huang was merely courting his own death. Do you need me to get rid of this trash for you? A voice rang out, calm and unhurried, completely slow and at ease. Wuming had appeared at the doors of the Great Palace who knew when. His hands crossed behind his back, looking at Hong Huang disdainfully. Though the latter was only a monarch star, he was still completely worthless in his eyes. No need. Hong Huang called out loudly. Did a ninth secret still need help in a battle against a second secret? You got to be joking. Yet Wuming sighed, and said, Trash, I was not talking to you. Don't flatter yourself. What? Hong Huang faltered, and his whole face flushed instantly. He had not imagined that he was the trash that Wuming was speaking of. This. He was a great monarch star, a ninth secret prodigy, and in Wuming's eyes, he wasn't even worthy of being called human, and could only be considered trash. More importantly, he had really flattered himself by snatching the chance to answer first. Now that he thought about it, his face flushed. No, he was furious. He was the disciple of a heavenly venerate, and there was absolutely no one that could insult him. Ling Han was surprised, and asked, Brother Ji, have you recognized me? Wuming nodded, and said, Your disguise technique is indeed flawless. It should be the heaven-deceiving technique of the Heavenly Saint Palace, right? However, there are not many people that I would consider a rival in this world, and the only one whose cultivation level is close to mine is you. How could I be unable to guess? Indeed, if Ling Han appeared average, then Wuming would truly be unable to recognize him, but just how many monarch stars were there? Hong Huang was mad with jealousy. He knew that Wuming was stronger than him, but Wuming had such a high opinion of Ling Han, and considered him a rival, yet did not even deign to pay Hong Huang any regard, calling him trash. How could he possibly accept that? With him roaring furiously, his attacks became even more crazed. He was determined to kill Ling Han, and use facts to tell Wuming that he was much stronger than Ling Han. Ling Han's figure flashed. It was true that his strength was no match for Hong Huang's, but void space was too amazing, and added with the regulations of time, his ability to protect himself was still very strong. He smiled and said no need. If I wanted to kill this kind of trash, it would be as easy as pie. Good. Hong Huang's eyes were bloodshot. Then show it to me by killing me. Wuming nodded, and actually just turned and left, not even staying to watch the battle. True, who was he? A ninth heaven celestial king in the past, invincible throughout his era, and perhaps even stronger than the Imperial Void Celestial King. Then how could an immortal palace tier battle actually be worthy of his notice? He merely did not want Ling Han to die, and make him lose a very good rival. Since Ling Han said he was confident, Wuming naturally left. What was so fun about watching this? Wuming was very relaxed, his figure moving lightly, and very quickly disappeared without a trace. Hong Huang began storing up power for a powerful attack. His battle prowess far surpassed Ling Han's. Thus, he naturally had enough room and leftover power to prepare a stronger attack. Otherwise, in a situation when both sides were equally matched, him doing that would merely be committing suicide. Ling Han smiled slightly. Do you truly wish to die? Hong Huang was so furious that he grinned. If you had the ability to kill me, I would be able to die without regrets. Sigh, what a waste. Ling Han sighed, and took out the Heaven and Earth Origin Star. This was a good item that he had traded with military merits at the sacrificial altar of Heaven and Earth. After activation, it could burst out with a Celestial King tier attack, but the trading price was also overwhelmingly expensive. Even he had only managed to trade for a few. Hong Huang's eyes were very sharp. The instant he saw the Heaven and Earth Origin Star, his face immediately paled. That was a powerful and deadly weapon. Celestial tools would need a cultivator to activate them, and without enough strength, it could not be done at all. But the Heaven and Earth Origin Star was different. It was like a Celestial King tier decree. It could be used just by opening it, but it was a one-use item. Compared with the Celestial King tier decree, the Heaven and Earth Origin Star was more useful because as long as one locked down on his opponent with Divine Sense, he only had to throw it out, and that would be it. Hong Huang was indeed extraordinarily confident. He was a prodigy that could become a 9th Heaven Celestial King in the future, but this, after all, was only a matter of the future. If he was to confront a Celestial King tier attack at this moment, wouldn't that just be suicide? Even if the attack blasted out from a Heaven and Earth Origin Star merely had the destructive power of a First Heaven Celestial King. What to do, what to do, what to do? Hong Huang's forehead was covered with cold sweat, coldness sweeping over him like a flood. In this instant, he truly felt a nervousness that he had never experienced before. Ling Han smiled slightly, and said, At the academy, you attacked as you wished just because you have a cowardly master shielding you, and acted without any reservations, doing as you liked. Now, it was the same as well. Let me ask you then, I have done such a great service for the celestial realm, yet you still attacked me. Do you even have the slightest bit of shame? At present, he was a superhero of the Clear Heaven Pass. Who in Clear Heaven Pass did not extremely admire the chicken slayer, Han Lin? Yet Hong Huang aggressively made a move on Ling Han. This was completely a type of betrayal. Hong Huang could not answer. As he saw it, there was no need to be reasonable in anything he did, because his master was the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable, and this was a reason that was stronger than anything. Yet now, he finally felt isolated and helpless. Youth, you are really arrogant. A cold laugh rang out, and an elder appeared. His brows and beard were white, filled with a sage-like air. With a flash, he appeared in front of Hong Huang like it was natural that he was there. The old geezer had 7 multicolored lights, and it was as if a slight tremor of his body could cause the earth to crumble and the stars to fall. 7th Heaven Celestial King. Ling Han's heart jolted. Though the Heaven and Earth Origin Star was powerful, it could only shoot out a 4th Heaven or 5th Heaven Celestial King tier attack at most, and definitely could do nothing against 7th Heaven Celestial Kings. I heard that you killed my many generations' grandson, the old geezer said, his eyes narrowing, emanating a shocking coldness. Chapter 2267. Demand of a Heavenly Venerate. Realization dawned on Ling Han. This old geezer was Shen Chao's ancestor. With a laugh he retorted, Shen Chao ambushed me in the neutral zone, and it was indeed I who killed him. Old geezer, it would be best to kill this kind of shameless descendant to avoid being embarrassed in the future. The Celestial King of the Shen clan couldn't help but be dumbfounded. This brat actually dared to speak so fluently in front of him, not taking him seriously at all. But very soon, he felt relieved because Ling Han dared to insult even a Heavenly Venerate, so what did this count as? His expression did not shift. The self-restraint of a Celestial King was naturally good. Do you think that just trading in a Heaven and Earth Origin Star would be enough to stop me? Of course not, Ling Han stated, smiling, but then continued righteously, but I think that justice lies in the hearts of the masses. When these words fell, a considerable number of celestial kings looked guilty. They had not stepped out to protect Ling Han, and a very large reason for that was that they were intimidated by the mighty reputation of the sealed emotion. Heavenly Venerable. That was right. Indeed, a heavenly Venerate could not move easily, but it was not that they could not appear. Even if just a sliver of divine sense descended, it could only be matched by a great many ninth heaven celestial kings. However, before that, even eighth heaven celestial kings would only be able to wait for death. Who dared to offend a heavenly Venerate? Moreover, the Imperial Void Celestial King was also indescribably powerful, and his battle prowess could even be ranked in the top 3 among the present ninth heaven celestial kings, so did he not worry that the former would exact vengeance on him in the future? But Ling Han was someone who had done a great service for the celestial realm after all. Was it really proper for them to just stand by and watch? A hot-tempered celestial king could not hold himself back, appeared in front of Ling Han with a flash, and said to the celestial king of the Shen clan, "Brother Shen, please give me some face and don't make a move. The grudges of the juniors can be resolved by the juniors themselves. It would be best that we do not interfere." If the celestial kings would be interfering in all matters, wouldn't the world descend into complete chaos? The celestial king of the Shen clan sneered, "Tong Xian, you want to protect this brat? Humph, killing a comrade of the celestial realm in public is a severe crime that deserves death. Even if I made a move on him, it would only be safeguarding the rules of the celestial realm. What would be wrong about that?" Not only did he want to attain vengeance for his descendant, he also wanted to use this opportunity to draw the Shen clan close to the sealed emotion. Heavenly Venerable. The Forum realm was invading, but the stand of the 3 heavenly Venerates was extremely ambiguous, but no one believed that the heavenly Venerates would just wait for death. They definitely had some other way of retreat. Thus, the celestial king of the Shen clan wanted to get their support and scheme for a route of survival for himself as well as his descendants. Tong Xian celestial king's right hand shook, and a spear that was completely covered with burning flames appeared in his grip. With a wave of his spear, his fighting spirit flooded out. "Then you will have to pass through me first." He was like a man that guarded the pass, and even 10,000 wouldn't be able to break through. The celestial king of the Shen clan humphed, appearing slightly hesitant. Tong Xian celestial king was very strong, and his battle prowess could be ranked in the higher tiers among 7th heaven celestial kings. He was not confident that he could win, but now that the arrow was drawn, there was no way he could not release the arrow. Boom! Right at this moment, an incredibly frightening divine sense surged over the clear heaven pass. Immediately reacted, glowing entirely, and blocking this divine sense, but the city walls still moaned, as if they could not bear the pressure. It should be known that the clear heaven pass was strengthened generation after generation of countless celestial kings through day and night, and who knew how many formation patterns had been laid out. Even if a few dozen ninth heaven celestial kings joined forces, it would be difficult for them to damage it the slightest bit. Yet now, this was only a sliver of divine sense, yet caused the powerful fortress to tremble madly, being close to collapsing. What kind of concept was that? Heavenly Venerate. Everyone mouthed these words. The only one who could be so strong had to be Heavenly Venerable Tai. Even the battle between the Imperial Void Celestial King and the Eternity Celestial King and the others stopped. If a Heavenly Venerate descended, even if they were all added together, that would still not be enough. An incredibly enormous face appeared above the clear heaven pass. The clear heaven pass was already big enough, wasn't it? But compared with this face, it paled in comparison, showing just how humongous it was. Ling Han couldn't help but inhale sharply. This was the heavenly Venerate Qi Yen, a true overlord of the foreign realm. Thankfully, this was not his true self, and merely a sliver of divine sense, but it was still so powerful it could drive others to despair. The heavenly Venerate was right above them, and the entire clear heaven pass suddenly became incredibly silent. No matter what everyone was doing, at this moment, they all stopped and looked up at the skies. At the same time, the celestial kings were incredibly wary. Though this was just a sliver of divine sense, and was also being suppressed by the heaven and earth of the celestial realm, it still had the strength of a top-tier ninth heaven celestial king, and even a being like the Imperial Void Celestial King dared not be careless. Hand over the brat that has the origin magic cube. Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen spoke. His tone was even, yet it was filled with supreme authority. If everyone had to adhere to the regulations, then wasn't Heavenly Venerable tier which surpassed regulations capable of commanding actions to be done with mere words? Impossible. The Eternity Celestial King immediately refused decisively. Even the Imperial Void Celestial King's expression was cool, appearing disdainful. That was because he, too, wanted the origin magic cube. If Ling Han was handed over, then the time for his breakthrough to the Heavenly Venerable tier would be pushed back who knew how much further in time. Stepping over this threshold was not an issue of talent, but more of luck. If that brat is not handed over, I will destroy that neutral zone. However, it would damage the stability of the connecting point of the two realms, and give you several tens of billions of years to continue struggling. Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen stated calmly. However, if that brat is handed over, I can swear a Tao oath that we will not invade for an epoch. When these words fell, quite a number of celestial kings looked tempted, and the thoughts of everyone in the whole of Clear Heaven Pass wandered wildly. The word of a Heavenly Venerate was naturally trustworthy. In other words, if the Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen swore a Tao oath, this was completely believable. This was an epoch. Without any exaggeration, even an ascending origin tier could not possibly lie for so long, and would have long since been killed by the immortals' tribulation. In other words, the majority would be able to finish living this life in peace and safety, and could even continue their line for countless generations. Wasn't this the peace that they had always yearned for? It was only sacrificing one person, and it could trade for such a long period of peace for the celestial realm. No matter how they thought about it, this was an extremely profitable matter. Of course, as long as the one to be sacrificed was not themselves. The Imperial Void Celestial King's eyes trembled slightly. He was not concerned about the survival of the celestial realm. What was the most important was if he could become a Heavenly Venerate himself. Youth, do not save a little only to lose a lot, Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen said evenly. No one knew what his words meant, but the Imperial Void Celestial King understood. These words were directed towards him, and it implicated the agreement that the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable and the others had reached with the foreign realm. His hands curled into fists, his hair fluttering freely, nine-colored light flickering. An intense battle was presently taking place in his heart. But after only a while, the Imperial Void Celestial King shouted, and with a quick flash, he soon disappeared from sight. A great ninth heaven celestial king, and one whose battle prowess could be ranked in the top 3, had been forced off with just mere words, and surrendered an extremely great fortune. I will give you all a day's time to consider. If this boy is still not handed over, after a day, I will make my move, Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen said calmly, and, with a tremor of his figure, he dispersed from sight. Instantly, everyone in Clear Heaven Pass broke into a commotion. They were all engaged in an intense debate. The celestial kings also exchanged looks. This was peace for an entire epoch. And even they were tempted. They truly did hope that Ling Han could become a Heavenly Venerate and lead the resistance against the foreign realm, but he was presently only an immortal palace tier. Even if there were celestial kings pouring their full efforts into nurturing him, becoming a Heavenly Venerate was still something that would only happen who knew how many years later. Chapter 2268. Handing Over. At present, The neutral zone was indeed capable of stopping the foreign realm from invading, but if a heavenly Venerate interfered, he would be able to easily destroy it. Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen had not lied. Even if this neutral zone was destroyed, and shook the connecting point of the two realms, at most it would only be several tens of billions of years. That was indeed a very long time, but it was far from enough to produce a heavenly Venerate. But an epoch was different. It was possible that an astonishing variable would appear. Thus, even those celestial kings that had previously felt sympathy for Ling Han were tempted, and felt that Ling Han should sacrifice himself for the sake of the celestial realm. "Hand over Han Lin." A voice rang out in the clear heaven pass. It was not known who had spoken, and it became louder and louder, drawing echoes from countless others, and turning into an ocean of voices. The clear heaven pass was very unique. There were no mountains or rivers in the city, only many soldier camps filled with people. Thus the sound spread further and further, and there would not be any dead end, drawing the echoes from more and more people, all calling Ling Han's name. Previously, they had all been cheering, and at this moment, they were so impatient to hand Ling Han over in exchange for peace. Ling Han experienced a feeling that he did not know how to describe, feeling torn between laughter and tears. He was just like a princess of some smaller countries in a small world. All the citizens were hoping that he could be offered up in a matrimonial alliance, sacrificing himself to help the majority. But why was it he that had to be sacrificed? Who had asked his opinion? Moreover, so what if there was an epoch of peace? Without getting rid of the root of the problem, they would still have to suffer being invaded by the foreign realm after an epoch. Furthermore, why would Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen be so generous? The Origin Magic Cube was probably quite helpful for foreign realm elites as well. That was right. This contained the regulations of the celestial realm as well. If the foreign realm elites managed to comprehend them, they might be able to find a way to avoid being targeted by the heaven and earth of the celestial realm. By then, they would penetrate deeply into the celestial realm, and there would really be absolutely no hope left for the celestial realm. For the celestial realm, the true barrier was actually not Clear Heaven Pass, nor the ninth heaven celestial kings, nor any heavenly Venerate, but rather the heaven and earth itself. What a joke! Now, there were too many people that had been blinded by an epoch of peace, and could not even cast their sight further. I propose that Han Lin be handed over. A ninth heaven celestial king spoke up. The celestial king's expressions all changed. No matter how loudly the common people called out, they were just common people, but it was different now that a celestial king had spoken. This had truly brought the matter up to the table for discussion. And what was more of a mockery? They had actually summoned Ling Han to praise him, so how had it now become a discussion of whether he should be handed over to the foreign realm or not? At this moment, no one spoke. Celestial kings naturally prized their pride. Even if the majority had already agreed internally, they were not willing to express it, and only wanted to bluff things over. I disagree. The Eternity Celestial King appreciated Ling Han's talent the most. Previously, he had already confronted the Imperial Void Celestial King directly, and now he similarly was defending Ling Han to his best efforts. Ling Han was very touched by this. To be frank, the Eternity Celestial King was completely no family or personal friend of his. This boy has astonishing natural talent for cultivation, and also possesses the Origin Magic Cube. There is a very large possibility he could become a heavenly Venerate. Brother Eternity, another Celestial King said. It is uncertain whether this boy can become a heavenly Venerate, and even if he could, that would only happen at least 1 or 2 epochs later. However, if we do not deliver this boy tomorrow, the heavenly Venerate of the foreign realm will destroy the neutral zone. By then, will this boy still have any hopes of becoming a heavenly Venerate? The Eternity Celestial King was displeased, and replied, if the neutral zone was destroyed, Han Lin would only lose a world, but the Origin Magic Cube would not be destroyed due to that. He could still study the secrets of the heaven and earth through it. Eternity, it is just a few tens of billions of years. Is that enough? A celestial king that was built completely out of metal asked. His voice was also like metal scraping against metal, sharp and shrill. No. The Eternity Celestial King shook his head, and did not exaggerate. That was too optimistic, and he deduced things realistically. Without several trillion years, even an epoch's time would not be enough. But if worse came to worst, we would just be guarding here like usual. The connecting point of the two realms is far from attaining stability, and there is no way that a heavenly Venerate of the foreign realm can come over. With these words, quite a few celestial kings seemed persuaded. Though their defense was really very difficult now. Hadn't Clear Heaven Pass still stood firmly without collapsing? Then, if they continued to stand guard for several trillion years more, or even an epoch, they would be more able to win a future that was filled with hope for the celestial realm. I still think we should hand him over, the heavy metal celestial king said. His title was Heavy Metal, and he was also a veteran Ninth Heaven celestial king. In that case, let's vote. The Eternity Celestial King did not bother to waste words. Those who agree on handing over Han Lin, raise your hand. When these words fell, the Heavy Metal Celestial King was the first to raise his hand, and then more celestial kings raised their hands as well. The Eternity Celestial King swept over a glance, and was instantly reassured. The number of celestial kings that agreed to hand Ling Han over was less than half. Could it be that we should not consider the public sentiment of Clear Heaven Pass? The celestial king of Shen clan suddenly said. That's right. The public sentiment could be supportive or opposing. If we did not have the support of these troops, the celestial realm would have no qualified successors to carry on the undertaking. How then would we be able to continue sustaining wave after wave of assault from the foreign realm? The celestial kings that agreed to hand over Ling Han all said. The Eternity Celestial King sneered. Usually, in the eyes of these celestial kings, even ascending origin tiers were mere ants to them, and they did not deign to even cast a second look at them, and now they were actually talking about public sentiment. How utterly shameless. He was just about to speak, but Wang, a frightening divine sense assailed them, as heavy as a mountain and astonishingly terrifying. So what if they were Ninth Heaven celestial kings? They all experienced a feeling of helplessness. An eye was the first to appear, and then a face was squeezed out in the skies. Instantly, that majestic aura raised to another level. Sealed emotion heavenly venerable. A considerable number of Ninth Heaven celestial kings exclaimed softly, bearing complicated expressions. The heavenly venerable tier, the strongest power of a realm, but the sealed emotion heavenly venerable had not done anything for the celestial realm, and only acted as if the invasion of the foreign realm did not exist. How could that not be disappointing? But who would dare rebuke him frankly? They did not even dare to discuss the matter privately. Greetings, my lord. All the celestial kings paid their respects. Ling Han glanced longer at him. The sealed emotion heavenly venerable was stately in bearing, and looked to be in his 20s. His eyes were the brightest, just like the eyes of the heavens, and were seemingly capable of seeing the whole heaven and earth. I decree that this boy is to be handed over in exchange for peace of an epoch for the celestial realm, the sealed emotion heavenly venerable said, and that face rapidly dispersed. He had let his divine sense descend merely to say these words. Eternity, you have heard clearly. Lord Sealed Emotion has already decreed it. The heavy metal celestial king exclaimed. A heavenly venerate had personally commanded it, so it was naturally a sure bet that Ling Han would be handed over. No one could possibly change that. The Eternity Celestial King's fists clenched tightly, his eyes sweeping over them. Most of the celestial kings that had previously supported him had lowered their heads by now. Clearly, they did not dare to oppose a heavenly venerate. Who would have that courage? Since that is the case, apprehend this boy, the heavy metal celestial king stated calmly. He naturally would not deign to make a move on a mere immortal palace tier. The celestial king of the Shen clan leaped out. He would be very pleased to do the job. Ha ha ha! Ling Han suddenly burst out laughing, wild and mad to the point of being completely unreserved, causing every celestial king to turn and look at him. Brat, this is not the neutral zone. You are only a mere mortal, the celestial king of the Shen clan declared coldly. Is that right? Chapter 2269. The Tower of Three Realms recovers. Ling Han's eyes swept over them as he stated, a group of celestial kings, truly. High and haughty, flattering yourselves. Who are you people that you can freely decide my fate? I have done such a great service for the celestial realm, and what is the result? It was only in exchange for a fate of becoming a lowly prisoner of the foreign realm. Haha, this is really motivational. Do you people feel no shame? The heavy metal celestial king said, you are sacrificing yourself for the celestial realm. The future generations will remember your name, which will be forever etched in history. Ling Han's laughter became even more manic. He dispersed the heaven. Deceiving technique, revealing his true appearance and aura, asking calmly. Han Lin is only my alias. My true identity is Ling Han. You people say you will remember my name. How will that be accomplished? The celestial kings were all speechless. Who would have thought that Ling Han would have come to clear heaven pass under a false identity? Was there anyone like that? This was battling for the celestial realm, which was incredibly glorious. But now, they felt as if Ling Han had slapped their faces. They actually said that they would remember Ling Han's name, but they were mistaken even about his real name. Damn brat, you actually dare deceive celestial kings. You are truly outrageously bold. Unless you have done something that could not be exposed. What need would there be for you to do such a thing? The celestial king of the Shen clan demanded. This was really being an endless pest, but now that a celestial king had spoken, that was equivalent to a golden rule. Even if it was false, it would become true. Ling Han smiled calmly. You people have truly disappointed me. However, there are still seniors like Lord Eternity defending me, making me feel that there is indeed still a sliver of hope for the celestial realm, and that is still worthy of being saved. Spare the nonsense. As a mere immortal palace tier, just shut your mouth. Obediently, the celestial king of the Shen clan moved, grabbing out at Ling Han. A heavenly venerate had issued a decree, and he had naturally dismissed all his reservations. He knew that Ling Han had the origin magic cube, but this was clear heaven pass, and not the neutral zone. The cube would only allow him to comprehend regulations. Furthermore, the heaven and earth origin star was absolutely useless against him. He was a seventh heaven celestial king. He was naturally absolutely certain that his attack would succeed. The eternity celestial king wanted to move, but even more celestial kings glanced coldly at him, so he had no choice but to suppress this urge. If he did make a move, he would be ganged up on by the joint forces of more than 10 other celestial kings. He was not the Imperial Void Celestial King, and was not that powerful. Do you think that I only depend on the origin magic cube? Ling Han sneered, calling out mentally to small tower. Boom! His aura instantly soared endlessly, immediately breaking through to the ascending origin tier, and then attaining Celestial King tier. First heaven, second heaven, third heaven. It was like there was no halt to his strength. You people have no idea what my trump cards are. What a joke, Ling Han said coldly. At this time, his aura had spiked to seventh heaven, and it was enough for him to oppose the celestial king of the Shen clan. The celestial king of the Shen clan forcibly halted his assault. It was not because he thought that he was no match for Ling clan, but rather because this kind of transformation was really too unbelievable. This was not the neutral zone, so what basis did Ling Han have for being so strong? However, Ling Han's aura was still spiking. Very soon it had surged past 8th heaven, and advanced into 9th heaven, and it was still soaring. The Black Tower had fully recovered, assisting Ling Han in this glorious battle. Before leaving the neutral zone, Ling Han had spoken of something to Small Tower, and the topic of their discussion was the possible options if he encountered this kind of situation, and Ling Han's decision was to throw everything on the line and battle fiercely. Small Tower was a heavenly venerable tier precious tool, and though it had not recovered completely, they had still been in the celestial realm for a long time. After all, it had also stored up a great amount of energy, and it was no issue for it to help Ling Han fight a dazzling battle. TT could not help Ling Han unleash heavenly venerable tier battle prowess, but 9th heaven celestial king tier power and above, i.e. battle prowess close to pseudo-heavenly venerable tier, was still doable. Ling Han looked coldly at the celestial king of the Shen clan. Weren't you jumping around very energetically? Jump around some more. All the celestial kings were astounded. At this moment, Ling Han's strength had overwhelmed them completely, and he was even slightly stronger than the Imperial Void Celestial King. Teach this brat actually had another precious treasure, and it was heavenly. Venerable tier. Wang, the black tower appeared from Ling Han's body. To allow Ling Han a glorious battle, it had to show itself. The black tower appeared once more after who knew how many years had passed. It floated above Ling Han's head, casting wave after wave of primal chaos. The black body of the tower was emanating power that surpassed the regulations of the heaven and earth, seals covering its surface, and even celestial kings could not distinguish them clearly. The Tower of Three Realms. A veteran celestial king exclaimed. 8 epochs ago they had already become mighty figures, so they had naturally seen the Tower of Three Realms before. This was the precious tool of the karmic life Heavenly Venerable. When the karmic life Heavenly Venerable had fused himself with Heavenly Tao, and destroyed the connecting point of the two realms, the Tower of Three Realms had torn a hole in space, and its whereabouts were unknown after. This precious tool had been severely damaged in the great battle against the foreign realm, and now they could still see the marks that the foreign realm elites had left on its surface. However, a Heavenly Venerable tier precious tool was indeed extraordinary. This aura was too overwhelming. Oh, as it turned out, Ling Han was the many generations heir of the karmic life Heavenly Venerable. Just the thought of that caused sadness. At the time, for the sake of the celestial realm, the karmic life Heavenly Venerable had not hesitated to destroy and sacrifice himself in exchange for peace that lasted as long as 8 epochs for the celestial realm. But now, everyone was enjoying the benefits brought by the sacrifice of the karmic life Heavenly Venerable, yet was also forcing his many generations disciple into dire straits. Ha 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 ha! The Eternity Celestial King laughed loudly, yet there were tears of blood at the corners of his eyes. Ling Han's eyes were menacing as he stretched out a hand and grabbed the Celestial King of the Shen clan. Old geezer, is it very fun to bully the weak with your superior strength? Now, it is my turn to experience the fun. His time was limited. Firstly, the Black Tower could not possibly maintain this state for him continuously, and secondly, now that the Black Tower had appeared, it would draw those 3 Heavenly Venerates over not too much later. He had to settle this quickly. The Celestial King of the Shen clan was about to cry. How could he have imagined that Ling Han had another trick like this? True, who would believe that the Origin Magic Cube was actually not Ling Han's strongest trump card? The Celestial King of the Shen clan wanted to flee, but while he might be able to escape from the hands of a 9th Heaven Celestial King, faced with battle prowess that was close to Heavenly Venerable tier, fleeing was absolutely unrealistic. Ling Han grabbed him in a single stroke, and the Celestial King of the Shen clan had fallen into his grip. Do you regret it? Ling Han asked, the killing intent in his eyes blazing and as cold as ice. I do, the Celestial King of the Shen clan nodded. Discretion was the better part of valor. He was really about to die from regret. He was a 7th Heaven Celestial King. Why had he rushed to become the vanguard? And now it was great. He was actually publicly humiliated by a mere immortal palace tier. Ling Han nodded, and then his hand suddenly clenched. Pa, the Celestial King of the Shen clan immediately turned into bits of blood. In the face of pseudo-heavenly venerable tier power, he could not even last one attack. Quang, thunder instantly boomed loudly, a rain of blood streaking. Boundless grief surged out. The heaven and earth was grieving for the death of a celestial king. A 7th Heaven Celestial King had died just like that, completely negligible in his death. It could not be helped. The Celestial King of the Shen clan was facing a pseudo-heavenly Venerate, and a mere 7th Heaven could only go so far. Just now, how many more were shouting, "Step out and show me?" Ling Han stretched open his hand, his whole body bathing in the blood of a celestial king. He was like a great demon king that had come from the ancient age. At this moment, not one celestial king dared to reply. Though Ling Han was indeed very arrogant, and was only a mere immortal palace tier, who asked him to possess a heavenly venerable tier precious treasure, much less one that was capable of recovering even a 9th Heaven Celestial King would have to make a strategic retreat. Heavy metal geezer, I'll deal with you first. Ling Han moved in fury, and grabbed out at the heavy metal Celestial King. Humph, do you think I am so easily bullied? The heavy metal Celestial King sneered. His strength could be ranked in the middle echelons among all ninth Heaven Celestial Kings, and he was definitely not someone that the Celestial King of the Shen clan could compare with. Chapter 2270. Slaughtering Celestial Kings. Ling Han's hand descended, and the heavy metal Celestial King quickly stepped back. Though he had spoken very uncaringly, it was unknown just how wary he was of Ling Han. This was the pseudo-heavenly venerable tier, and he definitely could not oppose this power. Ling Han charged forwards. At present, he was the strongest being on the scene. Anyone's life could be decided on his mere whim. However, he could also understand the reasoning behind the majority wanting to put their own safety first, and was not incited into wanting to unleash a great massacre. However, he would definitely kill those few that had been the most vocal. Using his celestial techniques, he bore down on the opponent. A ninth Heaven Celestial King stepped in, helping the heavy metal Celestial King to resolve his crisis. Ninth Heaven Celestial Kings were pillars of support. 4 clear heaven pass, and any one of them was an incredibly precious part of local battle prowess. How could they just simply stand by and watch as one died by Ling Han's hand? However, a pseudo-heavenly venerable tier was too strong. Even a powerful Celestial King like the Imperial Void Celestial King could only flee in a panic, and only managed to escape by fleeing with his full efforts. The other Celestial Kings would not be qualified to do even that. Thus, Ling Han struck the heavy metal Celestial King in a mere few moves. With a harsh stomp, this ninth Heaven Celestial King had turned into a bloody mash. Clang, a rain of blood descended from the heavens, and all life grieved together. This was too shocking. A mere immortal palace tier had actually killed a ninth Heaven Celestial King. Everyone paled. Even if Ling Han had drawn on the power of the Black Tower, this kind of battle accomplishment was still incredibly dazzling. It could not be copied. Just how many heavenly venerable tier precious tools were there in this world? Hong Huang's expression was dark. He had never imagined that Ling Han was actually also the heir of a heavenly venerate, and was stronger than him at that. Moreover, he had a heavenly venerable tier precious tool in his possession. He could not compare. However, his expression did not change in the slightest. Instead, he only moved his feet, planning to rapidly leave the palace and flee. Ling Han had summoned his trump card, and it would definitively draw the 3 heavenly venerates over. Thus, he was undoubtedly going to die. Now, Hong Huang naturally had to avoid his sharpness. Otherwise, if he was killed by Ling Han, it would really not be worth it. Ling Han suddenly appeared in front of him, and demanded in a cold tone, "Where are you going?" Hong Huang couldn't help but pale. At first, he had planned to flee using the opening created by the many Celestial Kings ganging up on Ling Han. He had not thought that Ling Han would actually have an eye on him even in such a situation, causing his plan to fail. "My master is the sealed emotion heavenly venerable. Don't seek your own death." He did not panic, and dissuade a threat towards Ling Han. Ling Han couldn't help but smile. "Hong Huang, I thought you would not feel afraid." Hong Huang humphed. Anyone would feel afraid, but the way that people handled fear was different. Some would kneel and beg for mercy, some would analyze the situation calmly, and some would battle with courage. His previous words were not humble, and it was also a real threat. What was wrong with that? "Ling Han, don't cause harm to yourself," Hong Huang said calmly. "If you leave now, there is still a sliver of hope. Otherwise, your death is guaranteed." Ling Han cracked a grin and said, "I beg to differ." Since he had already anticipated that this kind of situation would happen, how could he possibly have missed thinking of a way out? He moved, and grabbed out at Hong Huang. Scram Hong Huang roared furiously. This word actually took solid form, emanating an aura of supreme dominance. It actually had a sliver of heavenly venerable tier might. This was a technique that the sealed emotion heavenly venerable had planted on him to use at the most dangerous moment to save himself. It could resolve even the attack of a ninth heaven celestial king. However, the person standing in front of him was no ninth heaven celestial king, but Ling Han, who was at the pseudo-heavenly venerable tier. Wang, Ling Han's hand descended, and with a blast, this word was shattered. Practically without any pause. His giant hand descended resoundingly, grabbing Hong Huang in a single stroke. Ling Han, do you dare battle me as an equal? Hong Huang shouted loudly. He was really defiant. He was a great monarch star, the disciple of a heavenly Venerate, with boundless future prospects laid out ahead of him. He definitely would be able to enter the ranks of the strongest of the celestial realm. Battle your sister. Ling Han ignored him and turned to deliver a punch, hitting a ninth heaven celestial king that wanted to save Hong Huang. After he sent out this punch, he bore down on him, planning to kill him with a single stroke. Even more celestial kings stepped out to stop him, but how could they possibly be able to block Ling Han? Celestial blood spurted time and again as celestial kings were killed by Ling Han's hand. The heavens continuously rained down blood without any pause. Hong Huang's expression became uglier and uglier. Ling Han was killing ninth heaven celestial kings as easily as If was slaughtering dogs, without any bit of hesitation at all. In comparison, what was he worth? If there were no accidents, he too would stop at the ninth heaven in future. And that was a matter of many years later. In this battle, it was almost like a hole was punched into clear heaven pass itself. Celestial kings died by the dozens. They were those that had previously been the most vocal and wanted to hand Ling Han over to the foreign realm to be dealt with. Wang, a terrifying aura attacked, and a hole was ripped open in the skies. Abe figure appeared, bearing an indescribably majestic aura. Crack. The heaven and earth raged, pouring lightning on that person, as if the world was about to end. Even if this was a ninth heaven celestial king, they would be hard-pressed, under pressure, but that man was completely at ease, and only acted as if this lightning was merely a light shower of rain. Wherever his gaze passed, the stars themselves were trembling, while winds and clouds were torn. This was too extraordinary. The sealed emotion heavenly venerable. He was the first to appear. Master. Hong Huang immediately called out, his tone filled with pleasant surprise. As he saw it, the sealed emotion heavenly venerable only had to appear, and everything could be easily resolved. He naturally would not die, either. Let him go, the sealed emotion heavenly venerable said evenly, but his voice was filled with a supreme intimidation, and even the ninth heaven celestial kings would involuntarily obey his words. This was a power that surpassed regulations. Yet Ling Han merely looked coldly at the sealed emotion heavenly venerable, and did not show a sliver of reverence. Even without the Black Tower he, too, had experienced power beyond regulations. Though he had not been as strong as the sealed emotion heavenly venerable, qualitatively speaking, it was similar in level. He replied indifferently, no. The sealed emotion heavenly venerable did not speak any further. Instead he stretched out a hand and grabbed out at Ling Han. Boom! The moment he moved, he arrived in front of Ling Han and pressed his palm heavily down on him. Crack! Lightning flashed once more in the heaven and earth. Innumerable lightning giants formed. They were all at the ninth heaven celestial king tier, and were even boundlessly close to the pseudo-heavenly venerable tier, just like the Imperial void celestial king. However, their number was overwhelmingly great. These lightning giants all lunged, unleashing a fierce assault on the sealed emotion heavenly venerable. This was equivalent to thousands of ninth heaven celestial kings. Too terrifying. No wonder the Imperial void celestial king had previously said that they heavenly venerates were hated by the heaven and earth, and could not move. They willed. Indeed. He only had to appear, and he would be pestered by the divine lightning. The moment he made a move, he was targeted by the heaven and earth, which manifested millions and millions of lightning ninth heaven celestial kings to besiege him. This was extremely terrifying. Ling Han quickly retreated. The pseudo-heavenly venerable tier only had the additional label of pseudo. How could that match a true heavenly venerable tier? The sealed emotion heavenly venerable was unafraid of those lightning giants, and did not even bother moving to parry their strikes. He merely charged forwards. Pung, pung, pung. Wherever he passed, all the lightning Veer smashed into bits and pieces, and could not cause the slightest bit of harm to him at all. His speed was too fast, and he caught up with Ling Han in an instant. Ling Han laughed and retorted, "So what if you are a heavenly venerate? You are definitely not omnipotent." Pa with a harsh twist of his hand, Hong Huang's neck was instantly broken, and under the barrage of the power of regulation, Hong Huang's mind also exploded. He was completely and utterly dead. The reason why Ling Han had not immediately killed Hong Huang was because he had wanted to do this in front of the sealed emotion heavenly venerable so that the latter would know that even if he was a heavenly venerate, he, too, would have something that he could not accomplish. With a casual toss, Hong Huang's corpse was thrown aside. Then, with a flash, Ling Han entered into the Black Tower. Shio, the Black Tower exploded with its full speed, shooting towards the neutral zone. "Can you escape?" Another cold voice rang out. The skies were torn apart, and a supreme being with an astonishing aura walked out. Zhou Heavenly Venerate. Chapter 2271. Hunted down by a heavenly venerate. The sealed emotion heavenly venerable stated evenly, "I will leave that unworthy brat to you. Small matter." Zhou heavenly venerate nodded, and set off in rapid pursuit of Ling Han. Meanwhile, the sealed emotion heavenly venerable stretched out his hand towards Hong Huang as he asked, "Is there anything in this world that I cannot accomplish?" Hee. A majestic light surged in his hand, turning into a seal that was brimming with life energy. Clang, the lightning in the skies blazed even brighter, as if a massive hole was cracked open. Even more lightning giants surged forth, pouring down like floodwaters, and charging towards the sealed emotion heavenly venerable. "If wish you to live, you will. If I wish for your death, then you can only die, and even the heavens cannot stop me," the sealed emotion heavenly venerable said calmly as he pressed down the seal. Boom, a dazzling light immediately blazed within Hong Huang's body. That seal had turned into an image, and was being stored into Hong Huang's body. Those that were at the Celestial King tier could see it. Hong Huang's spirit that had originally dispersed was actually being consolidated under a mysterious power, and entered once more into his body. Furthermore, it was quickly fusing back as one. In an instant, all the Celestial Kings were gaping, stunned to the point of absolute speechlessness. When one died, his Tao would be destroyed. Just now, Hong Huang's soul had definitely been shattered, making him deader than dead. It should be known that Ling Han presently had the strength of the pseudo-heavenly venerable tier, so wouldn't it be a simple thing for him to kill an immortal palace tier? Ugh! Hong Huang released a moan, and his eyes suddenly opened. At first, he was completely dazed, but then got his wits back. He quickly knelt down in front of the sealed emotion heavenly venerable. "Master, thank you for saving my life." The Celestial Kings were even more astounded. This was too shocking. Even Celestial Kings like them could not believe the extent that heavenly venerable tier power had reached and how he could even resurrect a dead man. However, they also had some guesses internally. This should only be effective for those who had just died. Though their spirit had shattered, it had not yet dispersed completely and returned to the heaven and earth. Otherwise, even a heavenly venerate would be able to do nothing. Even so, this was still an extremely astonishing and heaven-defying power. What exactly was that seal? Did the celestial realm have this kind of regulations? Crack! A furious bolt of lightning suddenly struck towards Hong Huang, yet it had completely surpassed the range of the Immortal Palace tier, and had reached Celestial King tier. Hong Huang's death and revival was completely a breach of the regulations of heaven and earth. Thus, the heaven and earth sent down a punishment of lightning, intending to erase this kind of existence. The sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable waved his hand, and looked towards the skies. You will not be able to kill anyone that I wish to live. Whatever karma there is, I will bear it. Clang, the heaven and earth raged even fiercer, repeatedly sending furious bolts of lightning, but even the strongest was only at the 9th heaven celestial king tier. However, there were really too many of them. Even the strongest 9th heaven celestial king would be tired to death. But for a heavenly Venerate, this was like child's play. Half a day later, the divine lightning disappeared. Though the heaven and earth was powerful, it could only take action via the regulations. Even a divine punishment could only last half a day. Once that time passed, it could be considered as having obtained the approval of the heaven and earth. In other words, Hong Huang had truly come back to life, and would no longer be targeted by the heaven and earth. This power was heaven-defying, really heaven-defying. All the celestial kings all looked at the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable reverently. Practically no one had ever seen a Heavenly Venerate move, but now it was only a slight glimpse of a sliver of their might, and they knew that the power of a Heavenly Venerate surpassed any limits that they could imagine. The sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable crossed his hands behind his back. He looked at the neutral zone, and suddenly frowned. Boom! The sound of a colossal explosion was heard, and an indescribable shock wave of power surged over. As the whole clear heaven pass trembled violently, brick after brick fell off of the strong fortress, as if it was about to be destroyed. When this blast surged past, everyone shockingly discovered that a colossal pit had appeared in the distance. A frightening kind of energy originated from the ground, flowing up towards the skies. It could be seen that the regulations there had become an ocean, pieces and pieces of them. The neutral zone had disappeared, and had now become a whirlpool of wild energy. Not even 9th heaven celestial kings could barge into this whirlpool of energy. They would definitely be killed, because this had surpassed regulations. It was the heaven and earth howling. Probably even Heavenly Venerable tier would keep away from such great power. No wonder the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable had frowned. What exactly had happened? That said, Ling Han raced rapidly, steering the Black Tower. His speed was astonishing. Though the Zhouwu Heavenly Venerate had appeared, Small Tower had previously been very confident. Though it could not oppose a Heavenly Venerate, it was not difficult for it to flee from the pursuit of a Heavenly Venerate. You can't escape. Zhouwu Heavenly Venerate moved. Before his voice was even heard, his hand had already descended. It was actually hot on the tail of the Black Tower. Like the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable, he, too, was attacked by countless lightning giants. Though they could not harm him, it still affected his attacks and speed. As his palm descended, the Black Tower flashed, and narrowly escaped, continuing to charge forwards at full speed. Small Tower's confidence was not for nothing. Zhouwu Heavenly Venerate humphed. He felt a mysterious discomfort, and kept feeling that Ling Han had some karmic connection with himself. Even a Heavenly Venerate's memory would be erased after leaving the time stream because this was a power of heaven and earth. As long as you could stand and battle freely in this world, that meant that your strength was still inferior to the heaven and earth, so how could he possibly oppose the heaven and earth? To a Heavenly Venerate, this kind of feeling was very, very rare, but since it had appeared, he would get to the bottom of things. Zhouwu Heavenly Venerate moved once more, and grabbed out at Ling Han. However, with how fast the Black Tower was going, it entered the neutral zone in a flash. Pang! This blow from the Zhouwu Heavenly Venerate landed on the heaven and earth of the neutral zone. The whole world immediately shook uncontrollably. It was as if it was formed from fragile crystal, and could be shattered at any moment. Even inside the Black Tower, Ling Han spat out a mouthful of blood. He was one and the same with the neutral zone. If one was damaged, the other would be harmed as well. However, he exited the Black Tower without hesitation. With a thought, he already appeared on the other end of the neutral zone, the end that was connected with the heaven and earth of the foreign realm. His form immediately changed as horns sprouted from his head, and a tail sprouted from his behind. Meanwhile, his feet became the hooves of a bull, and his skin tuned red. Furthermore, his aura was also drastically changing. It was incredibly and extraordinarily weak, but had perfectly assimilated with the foreign realm. He took a step, and entered into the heaven and earth of the foreign realm, and the heaven and earth of the foreign realm had no reaction, and did not target him. Correct. Ling Han had never considered taking shelter in the neutral zone. He had long since thought of his escape plan, and that was the foreign realm. Why? Firstly, the Tower of Three Realms had revealed itself, and he would definitively be hunted down by heavenly venerable tiers after this. Then, at most, he would only be able to attain 11th secret, and would never have any hope of advancing into the ascending origin tier. This was something he could not accept. Only if he fled into the foreign realm would the sealed emotion heavenly venerable and the others be unable to continue hunting him. Even if they did, he was not afraid. The regulations of the two realms were different, and even a heavenly venerate could not predict his whereabouts. Secondly, the overall level of the regulations of the foreign realm was superior to the celestial realms. If he cultivated here, he could raise his battle prowess to a higher level. Of course, he had had practically no contact with the regulations of the foreign realm before, and had to start again from the very beginning. For example, his cultivation level had now fallen back to the Genesis tier. To completely conceal his identity, Ling Han gave up all regulations of the celestial realm. His own battle prowess had already boundlessly decreased, but there were still regulations of the celestial realm locked up within the Black Tower. Though he could not get any replenishment, it was enough to allow Ling Han to unleash the battle prowess of a second secret monarch star after extracting them, and battle vigorously for a good few times. Thirdly, Hu Niu, the Empress, and the others could also be tempered in the foreign realm. Who knew, perhaps they would be able to rebuild their foundations, and advance into the ranks of monarch stars. Chapter 2272. First arrived. Wuxia World. Site copyright. Please visit Wuxia World. Site to support our website. Ling Han had never been sloppy in his actions. Thus, after he made his decision, he put it into practice without any hesitation. He strode forwards. This was already the heaven and earth of the foreign realm. It was completely barren, and he was only at the Genesis tier at present. In other words, that was the fifth lotus of the foreign realm, which was pitifully weak, a little like how he had been when he first entered into the celestial realm. However, his true cultivation level was the immortal palace tier. Even if he had to recultivate the regulations of the foreign realm, his rate of cultivation would still be astonishingly rapid. He only had to make some slight adjustments. I can't use the Black Tower anymore. Without replenishment from the power of the heaven and earth of the celestial realm, every use means one use less left. It can only be used at the most crucial time, Ling Han thought as he continued to walk forwards. His body art had long since attained the ascending origin tier. Though this was not of much help in improving his battle prowess, it was very useful at this time. Even if he did not have the supportive power of regulation, his speed was still extremely fast, being capable of matching the severing mundane tier. Oh, now that he was here, this should be 6 lotus. Pang behind him, the neutral zone was trembling madly, causing his face to pale as he spat out another mouthful of blood. Zhou Heavenly Venerate was still blasting the neutral zone, as if he was determined to barge in by force. A terrifying aura surged past, and a figure as tall as millions and millions of meters appeared at the foreign realm side of the neutral zone. His whole body was enshrouded in flames, and was indescribably terrifying. Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen. Ariand, what is the meaning of this? Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen asked calmly. Do you wish to ruin our agreement? Zhou Heavenly Venerate's message immediately traversed over via divine sense. The heir of the karmic life Heavenly Venerable has fled into this region, and I must capture him. However, if you destroy this heaven and earth, you will definitely destroy the stability of the connecting point between the two realms. Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen stated the stakes of the matter. Friend, don't forget our goal. What else could compare? Zhou Heavenly Venerate humphed and retorted. That brat has also obtained the origin magic cube, and has now escaped into this area. If I do not destroy it, who else could do anything against him? Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen faltered. He had completely not expected that the heir of the karmic life, Heavenly Venerable, and the brat that had obtained the origin magic cube were actually the same person. What great fortune, he said. Zhou Heavenly Venerate nodded. Do you know why I am so determined to get rid of him now? To prevent a second karmic life Heavenly Venerable from appearing, this boy must be gotten rid of. Heavenly Venerate Qi Yan agreed. Then let us destroy this heaven and earth together, Zhou Heavenly Venerate said. He alone was naturally also capable of doing so, but it would need some time after all, and at present, he wanted no unexpected surprises. The longer the time he spent here, the more powerful the backlash from the heaven and earth would be, and eventually the heaven and earth would even suppress him directly. This was something that even he could not bear. Boom, the two great heavenly venerates moved at the same time, blasting the neutral zone. Wah, in a far location, Ling Han threw up blood continuously, feeling like his body was about to shatter. Thankfully, the focus of the heavenly venerate Qi Yan was completely on blasting the neutral zone. Otherwise, he could have discovered his presence with only a careless sweep, and might have been able to see something off. Half a day later, the whole neutral zone shattered with a boom, and Ling Han spat out practically the last drop of blood in his body, being weakened to the extreme. He stumbled onwards, wanting to leave this dangerous location. Ha! Both Zhou Heavenly Venerate and Heavenly Venerate Qi Yan exclaimed in surprise. While the neutral zone had already been destroyed, and turned into a whirlpool of wild energy, they still did not see Ling Han flee from within. This brat had the protection of the Black Tower, and was also the master of the neutral zone, so he had to have fled before the world crumbled. Why was there completely no movement? Friend, are you sure this brat entered into this area? Heavenly Venerate Qi Yan asked. This was nonsense. How could a Heavenly Venerate have seen wrongly? Zhou Heavenly Venerate shook his head, and asked, could it be that you have not seen if that brat has fled over to your side? No. Heavenly Venerate Qi Yan shook his head. If a person of the celestial realm came over here, they would be like a sun in the darkness. There is absolutely no way that they could escape from my senses. Zhou Heavenly Venerate's expression changed. That brat has obtained the origin magic cube. That is a fusion of the heaven and earth of the two realms, and must carry a sliver of the power of regulations from your side. Heavenly Venerate Qi Yan paused, and asked, what you mean is that brat has already comprehended the regulations of our realm, and disguised himself as one of our realm? Other than that, there is no way to explain this matter, Zhou Heavenly Venerate said with absolute certainty. Ling Han had definitely not fled here just to wait for death. All right. I will immediately issue a decree to hunt down that brat. Heavenly Venerate Qi Yan nodded. Even if he could comprehend the regulations of our realm, his cultivation level must be extremely low and weak. I will inspect the world, and if there is any heresy, they would definitely not escape my eyes and ears. Then I will trouble you, friend, Zhou Heavenly Venerate answered smilingly. It is all for the sake of truly surpassing the heaven and earth. Heavenly Venerate Qi Yan also smiled. Then, he turned around, and his gigantic figure also immediately disappeared. If anyone from the celestial realm was here, they would definitely pale in shock. Zhou Heavenly Venerate was actually fraternizing with a Heavenly Venerate of the foreign realm, as if they were good friends. No wonder the three Heavenly Venerates had never moved against the invasion of the foreign realm. They were calling each other friends. And at this time, Ling Han had already run to a mountain village. The buildings here were strikingly different from the celestial realms. They were all houses made from wood, with sharpened sticks stabbed everywhere, as if the whole house was made into a porcupine. The people staying here were all human in form, but some bore a soul horn, while some had twin or three horns, and this was the only difference. Ling Han did not enter into the village, but rather found a remote location in the nearby mountains, and began to heal his injuries. All the alchemical pills in his possession could no longer be used. Furthermore, the indestructible heaven scroll was also completely useless because it was drawing only from the regulations of the celestial realm, and that could not be done here. Thankfully, Ling Han's physique was indeed stunning. This part was genuine and solid, and would not be weakened just because the heaven and earth was different. Depending on his own physique, he slowly recovered. After all, it was not himself that was injured, but rather that he had sustained a backlash from a world shattering. What this needed was only time. And now, Ling Han had a considerable amount of time. He entered into the Black Tower. The time acceleration effects inside had already stopped. This would greatly expend the power of the Black Tower, and in this place, this had become an exorbitant luxury. Ling Han, what happened? Hun Yo asked hurriedly. Meanwhile, the Empress helped him up, using her extremely feminine and seductively captivating breasts to cushion Ling Han's head. Ling Han grinned and replied, "Almost got into a fight with a few heavenly venerates." Everyone could not help but sweat madly. This husband was really getting more and more capable. Lu Yutong and the other women also came over, and Ling Han narrated the present situation they were in, which the women were shocked at. They had actually come to the foreign realm. "No need to worry," Ling Han said smilingly, and drew out the origin magic cube. Initially, it had already fused with him, and there was no way he could take it out, because no matter how strong he was, there was no way he could match the heaven and earth. However, now the neutral zone had already been destroyed, and the origin magic cube had also become a vessel purely for comprehending the regulations of the two realms. Everyone, just get ready to become residents of the foreign realm for a good number of years. Chapter 2273. Living in Seclusion. Thankfully, the women had all advanced into the severing mundane tier at least, and were qualified to touch the regulations of heaven and earth. Thus, everyone was taking turns to hold the origin magic cube, and would still be able to comprehend something. Unfortunately, the time acceleration effects of the Black Tower and the reincarnation tree could not be used any longer. Frankly speaking, this was all regulations, the power of the heaven and earth, and the two were based on the celestial realm. Now that they had left the celestial realm, it was like being a fish out of water or a weed without roots. They would very quickly exhaust all the power that had been stored up. The Black Tower was still very useful as it could provide a hiding place at least. Thus, its power naturally could not be exhausted, and they would lose this very most important use thereof. Even if it took time, it would be fine. There was no rush. Year after year passed. At least 300 years later, Ling Han finally recovered his injuries, and the women had also had some slight improvement in the comprehension of regulations, but they were still who knew how long away from being capable of disguising themselves as members of the foreign realm, and just made a grand appearance. Thankfully, the immortals' tribulation would only come once every 100 million years, and there was no need for them to worry. 1,000, 5,000, 30,000 years. Time passed quickly, and it was a rare opportunity for Ling Han and the women to enjoy a relaxed, peaceful life. If it were not for the fact that they still had too many concerns, they would really plan to just spend the rest of their lives in this manner. Ling Han smiled. With these 30,000 years of comprehending Tao, he had finally fully strengthened his foundations, and was now qualified to break through to the severing mundane tier. "Come at me!" He exited the Black Tower, and began breaking through to the severing mundane tier. Because he had actually advanced to the severing mundane tier long ago, this was equivalent to destroying his cultivation level and starting again from the very beginning. Thus, there was no need for him to go to any severing mundane tier mystery realm. The moment his cultivation had reached that level, he would naturally be able to break through. It only took a mere 3 days, and he had once again become a severing mundane tier. Bang! Thunder boomed in the heaven and earth as dense clouds rolled over, lightning flashing in their depths. Ling Han released a battle cry as he charged up into the skies, and began to confront the heavenly tribulation. This was a heavenly tribulation of the foreign realm. Ling Han was very interested in it, and wanted to experience it properly. Boom! A wide bolt of lightning struck downwards, as if a divine sword. Ling Han confronted it with raised fists, and the moment they came into contact with each other, he nodded internally. The heavenly tribulation of the foreign realm was indeed stronger than the celestial realms. Thus, in a battle of equal levels, the cultivators of the foreign realm should be stronger. It was no wonder that even Shi Chanzi, Hong Huang, and other monarch stars were no match for them. Only the Rain Emperor, Ji Wuming, and Hun Yo could be exempted. That was because the side of the celestial realm was at a disadvantage by nature. The people of the foreign realm kept calling the celestial realm a super low-level dimension, and this was indeed correct. Then what level of dimension is the foreign realm? Ling Han mumbled. I am really quite curious. The heavenly tribulation of the foreign realm actually took a long time, about 16 hours. When Ling Han's figure descended, he was already a first severance. First severance. Ling Han nodded. If I return to the celestial realm now, I would be able to easily defeat a third severance. This was extremely extraordinary. It was because those striking the heaven and earth could only be called kings, and only a fifth severance could be called an emperor tier. At present, Ling Han was only a first severance, so it was natural that he had not entered into the ranks of monarch tiers, yet could actually win even with a gap of 2 minor levels. This was practically inconceivable. The power of regulation of the celestial realm is indeed inferior to the foreign realm, yet it is not a full advantage. Furthermore, there are still some desirable traits, with each compensating for the other's shortcomings. That is why my battle prowess can be so strong. Ling Han was very pleased. Though he had been forced into escaping to the foreign realm, this actually could not be considered a bad thing. When he returned to the celestial realm, Wuming probably would not be able to match him any longer in a battle of equals. I should go and check out farther places. Ling Han strode forwards, roaming the expansive world of the foreign realm, and experiencing the charms of this world. In truth, there was no good or evil about the heaven and earth. After one had truly entered into this world, one would uncover the beauty of this world. However, in the foreign realm, the human-shaped beings would all have tails of an ox and horns, while the fierce beasts would be those insect types. Occasionally, he could see massive worms crawling in the jungle, hunting mosquitoes, flies, ladybugs, and so on. The overlords that flew around in the skies were no mighty bird, but rather moths and cockroaches. The plants here were also slightly unique. They were mainly colored in dark themes. In fact, even the rolling waters of rivers were more inclined to darkness, making one wonder if they could really be drunk. Ling Han shook his head and mumbled, if Hunyo knew, she would definitely feel sad because there is no beast meat here for her. 3 years later, he walked out of this barren plain. The first city of the foreign realm appeared ahead of him. His first reaction was, is this really a city? This is completely a bird's nest. However, this bird's nest was really majestic and colossal, definitely no smaller than a city of the celestial realm. Till sneak in and take a look. Though that was his plan, Ling Han did not immediately put it into action, but rather observed the other people that were entering the city. He had to know what kind of payment there was for entering into the city. If it required something like starstones, and he could not produce it, wouldn't that draw suspicion? He definitely would not believe that the heavenly Venerate of the foreign realm would allow him to roam around freely here and be a guest. After watching for a while, Ling Han found out that the currency used in the foreign realm was actually no different than what was used in the celestial realm, and was also starstones. However, because the heaven and earth of the two realms were different, starstones were actually different as well. If Ling Han took out the starstones of the celestial realm, that would be equivalent to announcing that he came from another world. Thankfully, I killed a great many celestial kings of the foreign realm before, and I have also obtained a great deal of foreign realm starstones. Ling Han strutted over. In the foreign realm, 6 Lotus had just entered into the ranks of elites. He tossed out some starstones, and the guards did not even dare to say anything, but merely invited him respectfully into the city. This was a city that was mainly occupied by humans. There were people that walked on 2 legs everywhere, but they just had horns growing from their heads, and were dragging a long tail behind them. Ling Han found a restaurant, and then sat down, sipping wine slowly, and listening to the idle conversations of those around him. A restaurant was always the place to get information the fastest. As expected, he had become a wanted criminal. The foreign realm heavenly Venerate had issued a heavenly venerable tier decree, requesting that everyone in the entire foreign realm mobilize and search for an intruder from the celestial realm. The decree mentioned that this person should have grasped the ways of the foreign realm, so any unusual situation would have to be reported to the higher-ups. Unlike the celestial realm, even a normal person here knew of the existence of the heavenly venerable tier, and honored them as supremely noble deities, worshipping them reverently as they could gain a boost of battle prowess. Realization dawned on Ling Han. Those evil cults in the celestial realm should also be worshipping these heavenly venerates of the foreign realm. This kind of power was indeed great to actually be usable even in the celestial realm. Power of belief. This suddenly came to him. This was a power that was independent of the heaven and earth, and was born from the hearts of the people, which did not belong to the heaven and earth. No wonder it could be used in the celestial realm. Tam now a fugitive, Ling Han thought. Though I have used the regulations of the foreign realm to disguise myself, without the heaven-deceiving technique, probably even a 9th Lotus elite would be able to see through me. Hence, I must avoid encountering these elites. He stayed a whole day in the restaurant before he finally left. Then, he looked for a time cultivation chamber in the city, or something along those lines. Don't say, though the level of this city could not be considered high, it really had this kind of place, but the acceleration effect was only 10 times. This was already very extraordinary because this city was equivalent to a 1-star city of the Celestial Realm. In the Celestial Realm, how could a 1-star city possibly have a time cultivation chamber? That was something that only a 4-star city could be equipped with. Ling Han went there. Though the 10x time acceleration effect was pitifully small, it was better than nothing. He focused on cultivation, progressing through the cultivation levels quickly. He was standing at the heights of Immortal Palace tier, and recultivation of the Severing Mundane tier would only require making up for the regulations, and added with the fact that he also had the Origin Magic Cube, it would be strange if his progress was slow. Thus, merely 3,000 years later, Ling Han had come once more to the 5th severance. Chapter 2274. Demon, Angel. Hunyou and the other women gradually broke through to the Severing Mundane tier. It could not be helped. Previously, they had not had the free time to study the regulations of the Origin Magic Cube. Furthermore, with such *** use of the Origin Magic Cube, they naturally could not be compared to Ling Han. However, it was fine once they had advanced into the Severing Mundane tier. They could disguise themselves and move freely in the foreign realm. At present, there was completely no difference between Ling Han and any other person of the foreign realm. His forehead had a 6-petal lotus flower, with 5 leaves beneath it. This was the most direct sign of cultivation level for a foreign realm cultivator. 6 petals meant that he was in the Severing Mundane tier, and 5 leaves indicated that he had completed the 5th severance. Of course, the lotus flower could also be withdrawn, and there was no need to show it to others. After Hunyou and the other women advanced into the Severing Mundane tier, their rate of cultivation immediately sped up. The major tier was a barrier, especially when it was a switch from the regulations of the Celestial Realm to the regulations of the foreign realm. This was really difficult. But once they had crossed over, it would be a level road ahead of them. Of course, Lu Yutong and the other women were initially only at the 1st severance as well, and definitely could not be compared to Hunyou, the Empress, and Bewitching Maiden Ro. Ling Han decided to switch locations. The time acceleration effect of 10 times was really too low, and he was not short of cash. Previously, he had robbed countless celestial kings of all their wealth. At present he only wanted to spend. He first understood a vague outline of the situation in the foreign realm, and then set off, heading to Fire Beacon City. It was a 5-star city, with time cultivation chambers that reached an efficiency as high as 500x time acceleration boost. As Ling Han saw it, he had to recover his cultivation level to the Immortal Palace tier as soon as possible, no matter what. He purposely bought a carriage for transport. This trip to Fire Beacon City would take as long as 3 years, and that time could not be wasted. Furthermore, he had also spent a lot of money to build the carriage itself as a time cultivation chamber as well. Really, not even the slightest bit of time would be wasted. They exited the city and headed north. Very soon, Ling Han discovered that aside from the regulation of darkness, the foreign realm also had another type of regulations. Regulations of light. Light and darkness were opposites, and were incompatible with each other. Where there was light, there would definitely be no darkness, and where there was darkness there would be no light. They were even more starking opposites than water and fire, with absolutely no possibility of coexistence. When Ling Han sensed the regulations of light, he too had entered into a completely different area. These words were spoken by the coachman, also a young man. He too had snow-white feathered wings, with a halo above his head. His eyes like balls of lightning. Long too. The young man that had spoken previously showed a hint of wariness. So Fairy Yunhe has arrived. Forgive the impoliteness. Now that you know, Scram, the coachman Long Tu said disdainfully. Long Tu, my respect is for Fairy Yunhe, not you, the young man said. Our Lady Darla is ranked equally with Fairy Yunhe, so what are you so proud about? Long Tu smiled arrogantly. How can Darla be capable of being our fairy's equal? A horse really doesn't know it has a long face. Arrogance. The young man from before immediately moved, leaping towards the carriage. How dare you? Boom! A palm struck from within the carriage. It was as fair as jade, yet bore a frightening might. Pang, that young man was immediately sent flying, traces of blood at the corner of his lips. Long 2, ascend the mountain. A voice rang out from the carriage again. It was very crisp and melodious, yet also carried a boundless pride. Understood. Long 2 replied respectfully, his eyes sweeping over the young man on the ground. His face bearing an expression of contempt, he flicked his horse's whip, and the carriage instantly set out again, heading up the mountain. That young man also got to his feet as he wiped away the traces of blood at the corner of his lips, an expression of malice on his face. When his eyes swept over and spotted Ling Han, he couldn't help but show a furious expression, and shouted, "What are you looking at?
Are you tired of living?"
He was already angered, yet knew that there was absolutely no way he could get his vengeance on that fairy Yunhe. This made him even more pissed off, and he wanted to find someone to vent his anger. Ling Han smiled and asked, "I am only a passerby. Whom have I offended?"
"Me."
The young man moved, grabbing out at Ling Han. Wang, his fingers tuned into blades. This blow was definitely not for capturing Ling Han, but rather to kill him. Ling Han originally did not have any positive feelings for people of the foreign realm, and seeing how this man was so arrogant, his killing intent also blazed naturally. With a casual strike, Siwa, a sword light surged past, and Pu, the right arm of this man was severed. If it were not for the fact that he was presently a fugitive, Ling Han would not have restrained himself so much.
He would have long since taken the youth's life.
"Ah!" the young man screamed, his face filled with pain. At the same time, there was also disbelief in his expression. This average-looking young man in front of him actually had such great strength.
Chapter 2275. 100 Fruits Tree.
Ling Han stared at that young man and said menacingly, "If you continue to pester me, I will kill you without mercy." That young man glared harshly at Ling Han, yet did not dare say anything else. He was no idiot, and naturally knew just how wide the gap was between himself and Ling Han. If he continued to act stubborn, and said some fierce lines, it would only be asking for his own humiliation.
He simply turned and left, actually ascending the mountain first. He should be going off to sow discord.
Ling Han thought for a while. There was a celestial medicine on the mountain, and it was certain that a battle would break out between him and the master of that young man if he wanted to interfere, so he was not concerned that the other party would be wailing about him.
He was naturally unafraid.
It was not that he had not seen monarch stars of the foreign realm before. Worse come to worst, he would extract the power of regulation of the celestial realm from the Black Tower, battle fiercely, and then flee quickly.
Of course, this was a last resort.
He had entered the foreign realm not merely to evade the pursuit of a foreign realm heavenly Venerate. A more important mission was to train himself to a higher level in the foreign realm. Ling Han had made a detailed comparison of the regulations of the two realms. For example, in the case of regulations of time, the foreign realms was more comprehensive. To make a slightly unsuitable analogy, the regulations of the foreign realm and celestial realm were like two houses. One was built from stone, while the other was made from wood. They both could be considered shelters, but the degree of protection they offered was strikingly different. Because he had once been the master of a world, Ling Han had a deeper understanding of this. The overall level of the heaven and earth of the foreign realm was indeed higher than the celestial realm. Thus, the regulations were more comprehensive, detailed, and abundant, and in fact, they had a higher upper limit. There was one thing that Ling Han had long since noticed, and that was that when the heavenly Venerate Qi Yan appeared, he had not been struck by lightning from the heavens. Heavenly Venerable Tier had surpassed regulations, and was not recognized by the heaven and earth. The moment they appeared, they would be hated by the heaven and earth, and if they moved, they would suffer a backlash. Both the Zhouwu Heavenly Venerate and Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable had proved this point. But this could not be seen with Heavenly Venerate Qi Yan. Why? Was it because the overall level of the foreign realm was higher, and could allow Heavenly Venerable Tier to avoid it? Ling Han could not confirm, because it might be that Heavenly Venerate Qi Yan was the only exception. It could also be that he had obtained some kind of secret technique. Ling Han needed a case study of more individuals to confirm this hypothesis. As he thought this, he strode up the mountain. This mountain was not very tall, Yet it was extremely majestic, with a vast aura and possessing an indescribable imposing air.
As Ling Han walked, a strange feeling rose up in him. It was like there was a mysterious power that was making him want to kneel down in sincere worship. He humphed. For better or worse, he had once been the master of a world, so he was very broad-minded. How could he possibly kneel down to anyone? However, there were really a great many people kneeling on either side of the mountain path. Their faces were filled with reverence and even fanaticism. Ling Han was slightly curious. Could it be that this mountain had some kind of significance? Unfortunately, the map that he had bought was too simple and crude. He could only find the names of great mountains and rivers. As for this mountain, it was too small, and hadn't even been drawn on the map. There were really many people that were kneeling along the way, but they were all 6 lotus without exception. In other words, they were cultivators of the severing mundane tier. There were both those of the demon race and angel race present, but the insect race and holy beasts appeared here as mounts, and their cultivation level also looked to be only 4th or 5th lotus. Ling Han understood now. Like the celestial realm, the dominant role in the cultivation world was still played by humans. Beast type could only cast off their image of a mount or ferocious beast after they had attained a very high cultivation level. There was very great pressure here. It was formed by regulations. Ling Han studied it closely, and discovered that it was of slight value for reference, but compared with the Origin Magic Cube, it was still inferior. It was really only worthy of slight reference. According to that, could it be that this place was some kind of holy land? The people kneeling on the ground were not only worshipping. More of them were comprehending Tao. The mountain was really not very tall, but because of this pressure, Ling Han wasn't walking very fast, either. He only arrived at the summit after a whole 30 minutes. The top was a massive plateau, and there were at least a dozen circles of people here. The highest number was definitely in the outermost circle, where there were more than 200, and there were only 11 people in the innermost circle. And in the center of this plateau, there was a purple celestial tree, bearing fruits of various shapes and types. There were some shaped like humans, beasts, and insects. There was no fruit that looked the same as another. Ling Han counted, and there were a total of 108 fruits here. That adhered to the number of stars in the Big Dipper. As expected, celestial medicines did not just grow randomly. His eyes swept over, and saw that the carriage belonging to Fairy Yunha that he had seen previously was stopped at a position below the summit, and Long too was presently seated at the outermost circle, staring intently at that celestial tree, as if he hoped that a fruit would drop from it. Why was he not harvesting it? Very quickly Ling Han understood. There was a giant seal beneath the fruit tree, vaguely flickering with light, and causing one to feel trepidation. This was a Celestial King Tier seal, and might possibly have reached 9th Heaven Celestial King Tier, or 18th Lotus. Strange. Since even an 18th Lotus King had planted this seal, why did so many people dare to come? Could it be that they wanted to snatch food from the tiger's mouth? Someone turned around and shouted at Ling Han, "Don't just stand there. Find a place to sit down quickly. Don't you know this is a holy land?" It was a person that was seated in the outermost circle. His expression filled with impatience. That was because Ling Han was standing just behind him, causing him to feel annoyed for some inexplicable reason. Ling Han chuckled. At present he was not sure of the situation, so he squeezed in outside, and sat together with that person. This person was of the angel race, with an especially handsome appearance. Ling Han began to strike up a conversation with this person, and soon found out the details of this person. He was in June, the attendant of a prodigy who was a character like Long Tuesday. This time, he had also come with his master. Initially, there was absolutely no possibility that he could come here. It was all thanks to his master. And this mountain was called Enmity Mountain, and it had been boosted with great power by an 11th Lotus King after succeeding Tao. He had planted a celestial medicine here, and its name was 100 Fruits Tree. It would only bloom every 10 billion years and then bear fruit, but it would take another 10 billion years for the fruits to ripen. When flowers bloomed, this would become a holy land of cultivation. The fragrance of the flowers contained the regulations of the Great Tao, and after bearing fruit, an image of Great Tao would soar from the whole celestial medicine. Similarly, it would also have the effects of helping in comprehending Tao. But the most precious entity was naturally still the fruits. Consuming one would bring extremely great benefits. However, supreme regulations had been planted on the celestial medicine, and it could not be easily harvested. It was not that it could not be harvested, but rather harvesting it would be extremely difficult. This was the gift bestowed by that elite on future generations, and was also a test as well. If you wanted it, you could take it. That depended on your own abilities. Why were only 6 lotus cultivators visible here? That was because this 18th lotus elite had thus ruled. Only 6 lotus could ascend this mountain, and others would not be able to do so. Whether their cultivation level was higher or lower, they would not be allowed to join in on the excitement. This 100 fruits tree had borne fruit, whose greatest use was to assist cultivators in advancing to the 5th severance. Of course, it would only be assistance, and did not mean absolute certainty of success. In fact, there was less than 1% that could succeed, but this was already very astonishing. At the very least, it allowed a sliver of hope. Ling Han was astounded. The foreign realm actually had something like that. It should be known that in the celestial realm, only heavenly Tao Jade had that kind of ability, but it could only be produced with an epoch's time. In comparison, the foreign realm was practically freakish. No wonder there were more monarch tears and monarch stars in the foreign realm. This was because this heaven and earth was really too good, being practically filled with benefits. Chapter 2276. Di Fei. Ling Han's heart throbbed. Lu Yutong and the others were not monarch tears, and originally would definitely not be able to achieve the 5th severance, but if they obtained the celestial fruits of the 100 fruits tree, there was a sliver of possibility that they could break through. Though there was only a sliver, it was still worth a try. However, it was still not time for the fruits to ripen yet. Everyone was just waiting, and as the fruit ripened, they could comprehend the profound secrets of the evolution of the heaven and earth from within them, which was similarly extremely beneficial. Thus, minor characters like Long Tu had also followed suit in ascending the mountain, sitting at the sidelines to study it. Comment. Ling Han sat at one side, filled with enthusiasm. He did not have the women come out, because their grasp of foreign realm regulations was still weaker, and it was not certain that they would be able to deceive 6 lotus. Thus, it was better that they continued to stay inside the Black Tower. He asked that young man how the fruits of the 100 fruits tree could be retrieved. You? That person looked completely disdainful. Just save it. The fact that we are allowed to come is already extremely great luck, so don't have any extravagant hopes. He blabbered on, lecturing Ling Han first. However, he then spoke of the method to retrieve the fruits, and that was to channel their power of regulation to stimulate the fruit. Because there were 108 fruits, every fruit contained unique regulations. If there was resonance, it could then be retrieved. However, the difficulty lay in this resonance. Why could everyone have a sliver of hope of breaking through to the 5th severance just with a fruit? That was because the 108 fruits corresponded to different Tao, and they weren't suitable for everyone. Ling Han stared at the 100 fruits tree. Under his focused stare, he could only see slivers of celestial qi soaring from the fruits, developing into various shapes and forms, and elaborating on the true meaning of the great Tao. He studied it, and discovered this was actually quite useful, allowing him to have a deeper understanding of the foreign realm's regulations. There is really no end to learning, he thought. I thought that I had fused the regulations of the 2 realms, and my grasp of regulations had already reached an absolutely detailed and precise extent, yet I have new discoveries every time. Looks like one really cannot become proud. As time passed, these fruits became more and more amazing. It was as if they had departed from the original shape of fruits, and had really assumed the shapes of various beasts and humans. They flew and roared as they channeled the various techniques through the ages. Right at this moment, the sound of hoofbeats was heard. Everyone turned to look, and as expected, a luxurious carriage was indeed rapidly approaching. Anyone that could manage to steer their carriage here definitely had a powerful background. Otherwise, their transport would not have been able to sustain this kind of pressure at all. The coachman was an astonishingly tall man, a member of the demon race, and the steed was a divine bull. This was an extremely strange matchup. How could a holy beast possibly be involved with a member of the demon race? Look at that sign. Someone suddenly pointed at an emblem on the carriage. It was a sun, dazzling with endless brilliance. Di Fei, Everyone exclaimed simultaneously, their faces showing reverence. What is he here for? That's right. He is already a 5-leaf monarch tier. The 100 fruits tree is not of much use to him, and he is still here to join in on the excitement? Hush. Di-Fei is incredible. It is rumored that his natural talent is outstanding, and he has hopes of becoming a monarch star in the future. Don't offend him. I have seen him directly slicing a king tier of the demon race into pieces with a light blade just because the latter took another look at him. It is said that his elder brother, Di Pang, is even stronger. He is already a monarch star. To have 2 monarch tiers from a single clan, that is too extraordinary. The coachman of his carriage is also a king tier of the demon race, who was subdued by Di-Fei. Humph, is this meant to provoke our demon race? When I become a monarch tier, I will definitely ask him for a spars. Everyone discussed the newcomer spiritedly. The cultivators of the demon race all showed expressions of wariness and dislike. By nature, they hated the angel race, but Di-Fei was too strong. They did not dare express it. As they spoke, the doors to the carriage opened, and a man of lanky build walked out. His wings were white, and the halo above his head was blazingly white, even surpassing his eyes that shone like miniature suns. He was dressed in rich robes, untouched by a speck of dust, yet his feet were bare, and were astonishingly fair. Probably 99% of women would have to admit their inferiority. And what was even more astonishing was that his toenails were actually painted a bright red color. What a sissy! Ling Han immediately tagged this label on Di-Fei mentally. However, this person's aura was indeed astonishing. A white lotus flower bloomed on his forehead, bearing 6 petals and 5 leaves, which showed that he was a 5th severance. Di-Fei's eyes swept over, and stopped on a woman of the angel race. Instantly, his eyes lit up as he exclaimed, "Fairy Yunha!" He leaped off his carriage, and walked forwards. Fuck off! People were seated in all these circles, and he was not flying over their heads, but rather kicked them directly. Pang, when his words fell. He had sent 3 people who had been blocking his path flying, and the 3 of them spurted blood like mad while they were still in midair. When they landed on the ground, they were already exhaling more than they were inhaling. 5th severance. This was when a monarch tier had the most serious suppression on others in the severing mundane tier. Just like when a dividing soul tier faced a severing mundane tier, it was absolute invincibility. Thus, a mere 2nd severance or 3rd severance would naturally be sent flying with a kick from him. Everyone was furious, especially the masters of those 3 coachmen. They wanted nothing more than to immediately make a move, but when they recalled that they were only at the 4th severance, and it was practically suicide to face a 5th severance, they forcibly suppressed the urge. Di-Fei continued onwards. This time, the people that were blocking his way hurriedly stepped aside, fearing that they would be mercilessly sent flying as well. And in this manner, circle after circle of people moved aside, not daring to face his sharpness at all. Di-Fei's expression was filled with arrogance. The behavior of the crowds was only a matter of course in his eyes. He strode forwards, only one person in his vision, Fairy Yunha, a beautiful, delicate flower. Lord Di-Fei. Some youths of the angel race approached, appearing like stars gathered around the moon as they surrounded Di-Fei. When facing those who were similarly from the angel race, Di-Fei's patience was considerably better. He made an exception by nodding at these people. There were a few that still had the aptitude of an emperor tier, and he might be able to take a few of them as his subordinates. He arrived beside Fairy Yunha, and gazed at her adoringly. He said proudly, "Yunha, I'll help you pluck the celestial fruit." Yet Fairy Yunha did not give him much regard, and merely replied calmly, "No need. I can do it myself." Though Di-Fei had been rebuffed, he did not show any signs of impatience, and continued, "I naturally know you can, but don't you also want to pluck one for your younger brother?" Fairy Yunha's aura couldn't help but weaken. She had enough certainty that she could stimulate a celestial fruit, but she had limited energy, after all. She merely cultivated one type of regulations. Thus, she would also only be capable of stimulating a single celestial fruit. Wanting to pluck a second fruit was practically impossible. Yet she doted extremely on her younger brother, and wanted to get a great future for her younger brother as well. Thus, she appeared hesitant now, her rejection no longer so firm. Since Lord Di-Fei is showing such great kindness,
It would be better for you to agree, Fairy Yunhe.
That's right.
Lord Di Fei has purposely made this trip. His true nature and true love is absolutely sincere and genuine.
Those around them began to persuade her.
Though some people were saying this, they showed signs of envy. That was because Fairy Yunhe was truly captivatingly beautiful. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.